What's up, everybody? Wolf from Walmart. We're back. We're back, baby, again.
Not a bad fish right there, guys.
Oh, no.
Out here catching Folsom bass right now, dude. Woo, he's a little chunker.
What up? What up? What up? 'Tis I, your host of the Whole Angler Podcast, Dave Erkey. I am here. Check out the new digs. Yep, it's new digs. No, it's not new digs. I'm staying at my mom and dad's house right now. My dad let me use his office to do this. Thank you, Dad. I'm down in Southern California doing some work. Point being is, no news is always good news when it comes to the show, but there is actually good news outside of the no news. We have a new StreamYard sponsor. So if you're on YouTube and you look at the screen, it'll be in the top left of the screen. It's mirrored, so my hands are backwards. It says Kayak Adventure Series. So thank you, Drew, and the guys over at Kayak Adventure Series for taking on the Catch Podcast and the Whole Angler as, putting us under your umbrella and taking care of us. We appreciate you. We love you. And I can't wait to get some people on here from the Kayak Adventure Series that will be coming soon. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and throw this silly ad in.
What up, dudes and dudettes? I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice by now, but you're going to hear it for a little bit longer because this is a shout out to the sponsor of this show, Kayak City. Kayak City has been taking care of me ever since I started getting into a boat and paddling around in the water trying to catch some fish. And when I tell you it is Kayak City, it is literally like a city of kayaks. They have Bonafide, Eddyline, Feel Free, Hobie, Jackson, Native, New Canoe, Old Town, Wilderness Systems, and so many used kayaks. I stopped trying to count them a long time ago. If you guys are looking for accessories, they have walls and walls and walls of accessories. They have one wall dedicated specifically to Yak Attack, and it is a massive wall. Kayak City is your #1 Yak Attack dealer here in Northern California. If you want to know where it is, stop by at 7812 Auburn Boulevard, Citrus Heights, CA. Roll through, say what up to James, Troy, Eric, Scott. Tell them Dave says what's up and tell them I sent you there. Thanks for listening.
That is the other sponsor of this podcast. Like I said, is Kayak City. So thanks, guys, over there. I was actually just in there the other day rapping with the boys. We got some new ideas on deck. It's going to be some fun stuff. We're going to do some fun builds. We're going to have some fun times. Ryan, Tug Yank Reel, he's out there on his YouTube. He's posting demos of boats on the water. So if you guys are interested in looking at kayaks and you're in California, stop by Kayak City. If not, check out Ryan's YouTube and it'll have all the demos of the boats in the shop. It's pretty awesome what's going on over there. They're growing left and right, which is great. So with that all said, that's all the business and it's all good news. I have some more good news. I have a guest on tonight and I'm super excited. I actually met this guest in person before we really got to know each other. I saw his Instagram handle and I literally laughed out loud, made me weak as hell. And then when we got to actually talk and hang out, I was like, man, this dude's a quality individual. And we've slowly had a small relationship through go to Columbus and see him or, Instagram throughout the last couple of years. And he's just been super cool. He's always talking. We always talk a little bit about fitness or he's talking about his diet because he's really into lifting and he's really doing a lot. So lately things have changed a little bit. And I thought I'd bring him on here to, talk about it a little bit and let you guys in on a good bud of mine. And this is going to be my friend, Christopher Waters.
Hello.
Dude, how are you?
Good, man. Just chilling.
Good, man. Good, dude. I was, because like I was saying, things have changed lately, and I was just, I asked you yesterday or the day before just to genuinely check in to be like, dude, how are you for reals? But I wanted to ask you genuinely on the show, so I didn't go, hey, how are you, bud? And then just have it be sound super genuine, because whatever.
Yeah,
anyways, point being, dude, thanks for coming on, dude. I really appreciate you doing this, man, because it takes a lot of nuts to sit there and talk about the stuff that matters, man. So before we get to that, let's start from the beginning. So you weren't born with a rod in your hand. So let's talk about where and when were you born?
Let's see. I was born in back in 1985. Dayton, Ohio. Pretty simple upbringing. You know what I mean? Nothing too fancy. Been here my whole life, born and raised. I've had a I guess I've had a chance to travel around a lot since I was a kid. So I guess it makes it makes home feel like home because you always get to come back here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So,
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. And being other places, you can like absorb other cultures and you can kind of take that back into your own house and you'd be like, dude, this is awesome. Like, but it is always nice to come home. Not going to disagree. So
absolutely.
born and raised in Dayton, 85. What was that looking like for you growing up? What were you getting into? Were you into sports and all that kind of stuff? Were you big in
Um,
school or?
let's see, what was I doing when I was young? When I was a young man, that's since I just recently turned 40. That kind of hit me hard, you know. You know, uh,
Yes. Yeah.
I had to do a lot of reflection there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It did put a lot of weight on me, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was a kid, I mean, I played some sports, you know, but I never really, I never did it competitively. Like I never played on the team or anything like that. I always, you know, grew up playing like basketball a little bit when I was a teenager and stuff. But for whatever reason, I never took it serious enough to try to go be on the team. Just
Mhm.
basically because I didn't want to practice. I'm gonna be honest.
You're a regular Allen Iverson right now.
You know what I
Practice.
mean?
We're talking about
Practice. You
practice.
know what I mean? That's for real. It's like one of my biggest regrets, I think. It's because I think I could have, you know, I could probably could played a little ball if I'd have took it a little more serious, you know.
Yeah, man.
Um, but you know, that's it. You know, when I mean, growing up here, it wasn't really a whole lot to do.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I typically just I don't know, like you said, I played some sports. I was big into nature outside, lots of hiking. Grew up a little bit of fishing with my dad, you know, drowning worms and stuff like we all start, you know, the simple stuff, going to pay lakes with my grandpa and stuff like that. Um, Being around cars and stuff. My dad was a photographer. I
Oh,
had a dark room in my house, which was
whoa.
really cool. So,
That is kind of
you know, I grew up like shooting photography and actually like developing my own film and like actually like printing pictures in my house and stuff and learning the whole process about that, you know, from start to finish. Like, yeah, that was pretty neat, you know, as a
that is
kid, you
rad,
know,
dude. Hell yeah. Dude,
you
that's
know,
super dope. So you were like, you had the whole like, I mean, I don't even know
yeah,
how it goes, but it's like you dip it in one chemical, you dip it in another
yeah,
one, you hang it to
uh huh,
dry. Dude,
yeah, we had, yeah,
so I got a question, just a technical question. How
yeah.
does that actually the chemicals bring out the print? Is the print like burned into the sheet of
Yeah,
paper and
because
then the
it's like
chemicals bring it out, or?
it's like you know I'm gonna sound not smart when I
No,
explain
no, no,
this.
no. I'm stupid. It's cool. Like, please explain it like it's
You
stupid.
like burn, you know, it's like the coating of it, you know, like you're shining light on it,
Mhm.
essentially. Then the man, what is it? The fixer. Oh man, I used to remember all this stuff. That's
Yeah.
long gone. Film is so old, but
Yeah.
you get your negative. You know, you go ahead and put it in the projector. You shine it down, burn it in. Basically, you know, you got to keep everything in the dark. It's like a red light, and then you put whatever acid on it. Basically, like eats off the emulsion, I think, right off the top of
Okay.
the paper, and then you
Yeah.
fix it, and then you got to rinse it off and you know hang it up and let it dry, and you know it's like 4 steps, I think, 4 steps.
Now, when you hang it, do you have to hang it in pitch black, or is there like a special light, or is it just hanging
Yeah,
dry?
but yeah, so that's what it is. So by that, is it the fixer does it? I think it stops it from developing essentially. So you're
Oh,
giving it enough light when you have the negative and you project it onto the paper that when you put it in the stopper, it ends up killing the developing process. So then you have to take it out and let it dry. We used to hang them in our bathroom and stuff. You know, it was my dad's bathroom, so my mom didn't really care. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But so yeah, I did that. So then it was like when I went to much later on, like middle school and college, is like they were teaching people how to do that, and I remember being like just not excited because I was doing it when I was like 8.
Bro,
You
easy A. You're like, all
know,
right, got it.
yeah,
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 easy
or
A. I'll
just
take it.
so,
Yeah.
but so yeah, a
That
lot of
dude,
photography, I guess, growing up with my dad and stuff. You know,
hey man, that is like an art that is gone. You know what I'm saying? Like the other day, my wife showed me how in her iPhone she could like brush somebody out of the picture, and that I was
yeah,
like, oh, cool. But then I was thinking about it, I'm like, imagine the process of photos, and like now where we just have like these high end cameras on our persons
Mhm.
at all time. Like the art of printing photos. Like I never did that. I went to like Walgreens or whatever Walgreens was before it was Walgreens, and you
Yeah.
develop the little Kodak cameras where you get like 27 shots and you develop them, and like
Uh-huh.
3 of them are good, but like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, like that, doing it yourself, like that process is it's an art, dude. Like
Mhm.
that's super cool, man. It's a lost art now, but
Yeah, it makes you appreciate photography, you know? Like
yeah,
I think for a long time it's like now you get so many chances.
yeah,
Even before the cell phones, it's like even with a digital camera, it's like let me shoot 20 of these. And then you
yep.
you don't really get the same I don't know, going through all my old photo albums and everything like that, like there's like the candids are gone
Yeah.
because everybody's trying to do the perfect pose or the perfect light or that none of the you don't catch any. There's like less life in a lot of pictures, I think.
No, I fully agree. Like, I love being able, like, because my daughter is 2, so she doesn't understand yet. Like, I can literally just get candid photos of her, which
Mm-hmm.
again, I can take 100 and pick one, which is a luxury today. But the fact that she's still candid, like my wife, when we go to take photos, she's got like 3 poses. Like she does this little arch and leg kick, and like it's always to the side and this. And I'm
Yeah,
like, how did you learn that? She's like, oh, I just took a bunch of photos on my phone until I figured it out. Over years, I guess little girls do that. I don't know. I grew up
yeah.
in your era where it's like we took a photo. If you got a photo and you
Mhm.
didn't have red eyes, that was like a
Yeah,
win, like
yeah. We
that
we
was
used
it.
to. I remember when we started. My dad, because you could only really develop black and white photography at the house.
Mhm.
But I remember we started shooting color, and and there used to be this machine at the click camera. This thing was like the size of like a refrigerator,
Yeah.
and we would go in, and you could actually get your negatives developed, and then you could go in and actually like eliminate the red eye with like it was like Photoshop before Photoshop was Photoshop. But you
No,
had to
it
do
was
it
a
at click
photo
camera.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah, they quite literally.
Yeah.
you know and then it's like you could print out your prints or however, you know what I mean, but you could go in there and do these little edits,
Yeah.
but it took so long. I spent so much time just leaning up against that when my dad would be developing, editing these pictures and stuff like that. you know
But hey, dude, that's time that you'll always have. Like kids these days. I was
Mhm.
asking my son something the other day, and he don't remember, but like because 90% of the time he's looking at a screen. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
kids they get lost in these screens and they're losing
Mhm.
life. Like the seconds and minutes that you get with them or they get with you is like honestly, there's
The
a no screen
memories.
policy in my house. We do 30 minutes of screen time a day. That's it now because it's
That's
getting
good.
pretty hectic. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus
that's good.
it's summer. Go outside,
Right, right,
So
right,
yeah.
right.
So yeah, so you spend a lot of time with your dad developing photos and learning photography and stuff like that. You have siblings, mom, all that kind of stuff, or
Yeah, yeah, of
yeah.
course. Yeah, mom. That's probably where I get my outdoors side from. I have a little brother, and I do have a sister. My little brother does photography to this day. Really dope photographer. He really ran with it in the
Yeah.
digital era, and has a pretty good little following. That he does. He shoots a lot of drift cars and stuff, and
Oh, okay.
so like just car show stuff, some of the stance stuff. So we just came back from Wisconsin this weekend from a drift event up there shooting race cars. He was
Oh,
doing some media for that.
that's
So
dope.
he's
That's
ran with
dope.
that. Yeah, he's ran with that quite a bit, and made it his own thing. So it's really nice to see that.
Yeah, man.
Um, and then like my mom, like I said, I get probably my outdoorsiness from her. You know, to a point. I like taking showers and stuff. Like I don't like being. I'm not trying to rough it. You know what I mean?
Borderline
But I
granola.
did.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
like she grew up with my grandpa that I probably learned how to bass fish from. They used to go up to Canada and they'd be gone for like 10 days. Getting their backpacks torn open by bears and having to sit in
What?
the middle of the lake and wait till it left, like like stuff like that, like whatever they caught, they ate. Mom's tough. Like she's still tough.
Mom's a beast, dude. That's
She's a
rad.
beast, man. She
Yeah,
really is. She's an inspiration for
that is.
to
Hell yeah,
keep
man.
going.
Yeah.
She's still outside. So
Still trying to steal her backpack back from bears and shit.
right, probably. I'll be worried about it, man. She goes out on sometimes these solo hikes, and I'm like, she's like, I'm not worried about it. I'm like, no, you need to be worried about it. But,
Yeah,
tougher
man.
than me. I ain't
Hey.
gonna lie to you.
Dude, hey, I'm gonna tell you, I think your mom and my mother-in-law would get along fine. We'll be camping in Yosemite or backside Yosemite, like Mammoth. I mean, the bear out there are massive. Like they're just
right.
And they don't care about people. They're so used to people, they do not care. And she'll be like sitting in she's got her single tent, like we all got the family tent. She's over like 50 feet away from us in her single tent. And she's got open cans of beans and whatever, just sitting there eating in her tent. I'm like, one day, one day, them bears are going to come in your tent.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be fine. I'm like,
it's like,
so if they're like big dogs, you just tell them to go away. I'm like,
yeah, right.
No. I will go away. I will go get in my truck. I will go away. Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
So that's awesome though. So she had you in the outdoors, and her dad had you on the water pretty quick at a young kid.
Basically,
at a young age.
I would say probably not. I guess I probably first started getting out on the water with my grandpa. I was probably a teenager, 13 or 14, maybe like that, Before that, it was just bank fishing and stuff. And I didn't never even have been in a boat. Okay. I'm actually trying to think about how that went. I think I basically got told we're going out in the canoe and you're old enough now. We're going to go do this thing now. We're going to fish out the canoe. And I'm like, all right. I always heard these stories about him. He would go to Canada by himself. You know what I mean? He was tough too. He just recently passed 2 years ago or something, not very long ago, but left behind a bunch of he had a handmade canoe that he had. He was really outdoorsy,
That's awesome.
So when I got in the boat with him, I always looked up to him because I just always heard stories his his thing was always whenever we would get in the canoe, he I don't know, you had to do it his way. He was that kind of guy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It wasn't really gonna teach you. You had to figure it out.
Sink or swim.
yeah, for real. His quote was always, the canoe, we don't go in the water. That's it. That's just the rules. You know what I mean? We don't go in the water. The boats are made to boat. So I guess when I was young, I was like, oh yeah, we'll be fine, because you trust him, Yeah. It was but he taught me how to paddle and all that type of stuff. We got in the river chasing smallmouth. That was my first actual thing I did with him.
That's in a 2-man canoe. That's dope.
Yeah. I remember being a probably 180 pound 15-year-old, and us going through this tributary we have here, and I really wish I could remember exactly where it was at, but I can't.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't take pictures back then. What I mean?
Yep.
But I remember hitting shallow spots and him dragging the canoe and me over. I'm plenty big enough to I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're just sitting there all right,
and I could tell he was getting kind of annoyed, help.
Yeah.
But it was that's who, it's just second or third time I get in there, we go out on this big lake here. I say big for Ohio, but big rollers, smashing in the bow of the boat. He's like, oh, these are just some little rollers. I'm like, I've never even seen anything like this. But I trust you.
The water's moving, right? Up and
down. Right. I'm but I guess it's when you're with a proposed expert, you know what I mean? You're okay, I guess I trust you. I'll just follow your lead, you know what I mean? So I did that a few times with him, and then you get a little older, and I don't know, that's just how it went with him. You bump heads or something, and you don't get to do that no more.
Yeah. Yep.
So
make your own canoe. I'm not.
Pretty much.
I'm not dragging you up these shallows again.
Yeah. It's can't have too much of a difference of opinion, So it's through my teenage years we fished, something like that. But I remember my mom always showing him, till he left us pictures of me catching fish, and he'd always be excited about it. It's like, even though I didn't get to see him that much, you know, it was cool that he's still like, you know, it's like kind of one of my inspirations for bass fishing. So, you know.
Yeah, and that's honestly, like, difference of opinion aside, like, I mean, as a parent, I'm not a grandparent, thank God. But as a parent, dude, I got a homie, he's my age, he's got grandkids. I'm like, oh, dude.
Oh, that's what made me sweat. I don't even have kids,
bro. Yeah. Hey, you know, take your time, enjoy your life. You know, when you're financially ready and you got some time on your hands, you know, kids.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a huge fan of my kids. Like, I'm a huge fan when my son does something, not necessarily that I like. I mean, I love when he does stuff that I like, but I love when he does stuff that he likes. And I get to watch him, like, excel at that or succeed, like the small wins. Or, you know, sometimes he goes fishing with me and he catches a couple fish, dude. I think I'm more excited that he's catching the fish than he is. He's just kind of, he thinks catching fish is normal. Like, he thinks that every time you go fishing, you catch fish. Like, he just thinks
absolutely not.
Yeah, no. But I take him to the spots where you're gonna catch some fish, you know. So
right.
But yeah, it's just, you know, so he just thinks it's normal, but I'm super proud of him. He just, you know, I'm his biggest fan, you know. And same thing with my daughter. I mean, mind you, she doesn't do much. She, like, drools and draws on the walls and stuff. But, like, I'm still like, it's a beautiful squiggly line on my wall that I have to paint later. Thank you. Like, I think it's great, you know. Like, I'm just a fan, dude. So I can imagine as a grandparent, like, watching your grandchild growing up, like, you showed them how to do something, to see them continue to do it is like a sense of pride, dude. I'm sure he was super proud of you. So teenage years, fishing with grandpa and stuff like that, and you were playing sports, but you weren't on any sports teams or anything like that. Did you finish high school? You do all that kind of stuff, or
finished high school. No, I finished high school. I have I finished high school, did a little bit of college. I mean, I think I skated through. In hindsight, I'm one of those, like, I think school was really easy, and it just didn't excite me. Like, I would have those, like, conversations I remember having them, like, in elementary school. Like, if he would just try, like, you know, he would, like, I'm like, I don't, like, it didn't really excite me, you know what I mean? But I always was learning on my own. You know what I mean? Like, reading whatever, or, you know what I mean? Like, trying to teach myself, you know, something. But just school was, I don't know, didn't really, you know, same thing with college.
Yep.
Like,
it's just there, you know?
Yeah.
Am I passing?
I tried.
Cool. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I tried, you know what I mean? But it was like, same thing in high school. As soon as you get a license, you're like, oh, I don't really want to be here.
No, absolutely not. You know. So what was your driving interest? Did you have any major driving interests?
Yeah, like, it's always been art, you know, graphic design. When I first started college, I went to an art school. So it was like, I went to a school called Stivers. It was a school for the arts. So I'm one of those art kids, but, you know, it was always graphic design that interested me the most. You know, I spent a lot of time, like, drawing and Illustrator and Photoshop back in the day, and, like, you know, figuring out that stuff, and always dreaming one day to have, like, some you know, people wearing, like, a t-shirt design of mine or something like that, which did come true later.
Really?
But that was my big thing, and that's what I ended up going to college for. It was called visual communications, but that's the closest this local community college had to graphic design, you know, and I was on their scholarship, so I just ran with it, and it didn't work out. Yeah, it didn't hold my interest, you know. So, but I took what I learned, you know, from the graphic design stuff, and I think I applied it much later, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always been a part of me. Art's always been a part of me.
Well, like you said, you had somebody wearing a shirt. How'd that work out? Just fast forward real quick. How did that?
Fast forward a lot of years. Me and my little brother, he obviously, like I said, he's still heavy into photography and is just really good at it. You know, I admire a lot of his work and just his ability to watch him grow through that, you know. Let's see. Well, the first time I once a long time, it was probably I was 21 or 22. I made a shirt design for local drifting, you know, stuff. And I remember having like 20 or 30 people, you know, buy t-shirts that I made. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you go to the track and, like, people are wearing your shirt. I mean, it wasn't even that good, you know. But, like, at the time, you know,
Yeah.
I guess I was one of the only friends that knew the graphic design stuff. So I threw together a little shirt, and I remember being like, man, that is like so gratifying,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then like I fast forward, like, I don't even know. I mean, probably it was during COVID, I would say. If I could say the C word.
Oh, you can. I don't care. Let me get canceled. I don't care.
But right before that, I think it was 2019 ish. Going into that, my significant other Destiny, we and my little brother, we started a company that it was really rushed, but it's called Futsa, and in her native tongue, that means like strength and power. And we started making some t-shirt designs. The first t-shirt design that we did was for a Bellator fighter at the time, and our whole deal was making a t-shirt for him so he could sell it, basically, to get some more money so he could, help him with his sponsorship dollars.
Yeah.
So within basically 90 days of us inception of this company, we had designed a t-shirt it was a really good t-shirt, and we got our name on the banner. So like our name of our company was like on this banner, like in the cage.
Yes.
That was really cool,
Hell
and
yeah.
it's like, it was always, I guess, like I said, it was always a dream of mine. You know what I mean? And whether or not, however it turned out, it turned into something where we made some more designs, and it just had people. I mean, you're looking at like her local, like she's from Guam.
Okay.
My girl's from Guam.
Yeah.
And she would get on there and just be in some Facebook group that has a lot of people there. It'd be thousands and thousands of people. And you see somebody post a picture like they were at a barbecue and they're wearing our shirt. You're like, whoa, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just a really cool thing. Kind of labor intensive to do the whole pre-order thing, and like, but I look at it as a success because it was something I always wanted to do, and I got to do it with people that it meant something to.
Yeah, dude.
It just it does take a lot of effort, but seeing like you see people post like, look at all this stuff going out, it's like that was really cool to do.
Yeah, man.
Like,
hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of what it turned into, and that kind of I would say we just had so much other stuff going on that we didn't get to run with it, as much as like we wanted to, because it takes a lot of time, to do something like that, and then in our case it was a narrow spectrum of like what we were doing, because we were doing island shirts, and we had a lot of people wearing them and stuff, and it was really fun to do. Just I'm happy for what it was.
Yeah,
it still makes me happy to think about it.
It's a passion project, bro. It fires on all cylinders at that point. Like, you are emotionally involved, you're mentally stimulated. Like, it's a lot, dude. So like, yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, it's a lot of work. But at the same time, like, the payoff isn't necessarily the finance. It's the seeing it out there. It's the being able to see your product come to life, and people be interested in it. You share a little piece of yourself with everybody else, and they like it too, which is rad, dude. Passion projects are awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would call it. I would say it was that, definitely, for sure.
Hell yeah, man. So, okay, we're gonna jump back now. College, not really that fun, but you're really into graphic design. So, what are you doing around these times? Are you still going fishing? You still hanging out with the family, playing sports, or just kind of?
My fishing, I think like my fishing back then. I mean, there was definitely some of me beating the river. I mean, that's what I say. Like, I've been fishing this river for so long, but in the capacity that you're capable to do when your parents take you, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like you can only do so much,
Yeah.
But I don't think, let's see, was I playing, you said, was I playing sports during college and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, just things that you were doing, like what
things
was
I was doing
in your time. Yeah.
Probably back then, I mean, playing some basketball, playing street ball. That's just really what I used to do for fun. I never worked out until I was like 24, 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that caught me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, dude, it caught you like a bug, huh?
It caught me because I got really heavy.
Oh, all right.
And my best friend at the time, he's still my homie. He made fun of me, and that's what made me get in the gym. So it was for the better.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I got my exercise back then in college days just playing basketball. Like, I really wasn't into physical fitness at all. And realistically, like at that time, I was pretty big. I got pretty heavy after high school. I always been a heavy guy. So if I wasn't playing basketball or like whatever was going on, I just lots of fast food. We didn't know no better when we were 20,
Bro,
21.
hot Cheetos and jump shots, bro. Like,
Oh man, man, flaming hots and basketball at lunch and that's about it. Like it just so I mean that in that I guess that kind of slowed for me. I don't know. College was really kind of like a very depressed time for me in my life.
How so?
Yeah.
Just
I think that's probably one of the first times I probably dealt with any sort of mental health battles. You know what I
really.
mean?
You want to talk about that at
Just
all? Or?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, I guess. I mean, just life, I guess. Stuff you're going through, like just kind of tumbling down on you. You know what I mean? And you don't really have anybody to talk to. It's like I didn't have a whole lot of friends in college, I guess. You know what I mean? So it's like you only got like one or two people you could talk to.
Yeah.
And I specifically remember my best friend having to deal with one of our other friends, but much closer to him's like dad passing away, and then he couldn't hang out with me. And I remember being like, man, I don't got nobody to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I never was really somebody back in the day to have a whole bunch of friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, kind of kept to my little circle, and that was really it. So it's like getting through college was like kind of depressing because I had to basically, I did it, by myself, and like, that was kind of a rough time in hindsight in my life. That was, what I'm saying. So, but that's what I think made me be able to later on, once I got past all that stuff, to like be an advocate for like you can get past it. You know what I mean? Like if you work through it, like it can be better.
So what's your process? Like, do you recall like what the process was where you kind of worked through it? You just
let's see. Back then, I mean, of course you do that. Like I said, I ain't got really no off limits. Like you go do the therapy thing and you talk about your problems, and then they give you whatever antidepressant that they want to give you. And then when you're that young, you still full of you're like, I'm not taking that, and then you stop trying to take it, and then you just spin out. You know what I mean? Like, there was nobody around like every day on social media or something like telling you what you shouldn't do, or like some video to watch, or like it's like I don't want to take this anymore. And your depression just gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably how I got away from that. I mean, that would have been like 2005 or 4 or 5, 6, something like that. Almost 20 years ago. Is that right? 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's 20 years ago.
Yeah. Like I think I essentially, I guess I used cars to get past it. If I had something else to latch on to, I started at that time we were into building. I was around a shop that built a lot of race cars. We would build it was a lot of imports. Like all the cruise ins late at night. Like I mean, you're in California. I'm sure you know about a little bit about the car scene. The import scene. So I was really heavy into that. I really latched onto that, and I guess that gave me a new group of friends. I can specifically remember like attaching myself to like other people and like trying to be around them and get better. I guess you know what I mean. Like
that, and there's a common drive there. Like everybody's coming together for the common goal of like let's work on this car. Let's do this. Let's check this out. Like, I like these cars. You like these cars. So it's like there's a common interest, and then on that grows organically relationships. So that kind of that's awesome. That kind of like got you to open back up to people again. That's really rad. So did you like, because you've been saying that about your brother taking photos and drifting, stuff like that? Were you getting in the cars? Were you drifting? Were you having the time of your life out there? Were you?
I was a hooligan. I didn't really do a lot of that back then. I guess when I had that was about the time I got that. I had an '89 Nissan 240SX, and I ended up doing a Japanese domestic market motor swap that came in those cars. In Japan, did that. blew that motor up kind of. I basically, built it, had, forged pistons and a big turbo and a tune. And I was just out here drag racing at the track and street racing and being wild and crazy. You know what I mean? That's a lot. That's probably the biggest first passion I guess I had, where I poured a lot of my like existence into it, like, man. Maybe it's just like the cars, like lots of busted knuckles, lots of late nights eating pizza, trying to get this person's car together for the track day this weekend. And then, oh, you need help doing this, I'll come over there. Like that, there was definitely like a community around that.
Yeah, man. And that's great because it's long hours too. You know what I'm saying? Like you're out in the middle of the night. Like, I don't know about you, but I know that like for me, if I'm lonely or my loneliness, it tends to kick in more as the sun is setting. I realize that I spent another day solo dolo, and so at nighttime is those late hours where your brain's really running and all you want to do is sleep, but you can't sleep, you're exhausted. And so it's like, it's great to have like a couple guys next to you eating pizza, like wrenching on something. Like,
yeah, it kept you keep you healthy. You need friends, you need somebody with like interests. You need somebody to talk to. Like, even if you don't know it, then maybe later on, like years later, you realize what it was,
Yeah.
Like it definitely, that definitely consumed a lot of my life, for sure.
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's an awesome process to like come out, like be able to be battling with depression and like be prescribed stuff and then decide to do something different on your own. And like, it's basically the healthiest way to do it is human interaction. We are, what do they call them? Like group. We're like a group people. Like we need we're pack animals. Like we need a pack. Like we need a group.
You need a community. You need you got to be able to fellowship with people and work stuff out. Like, it's I know everybody needs their alone time, but it's good to have people around you that are like-minded and are into the same, things as you, especially, when you're going through something hard. It gets, you don't have to even really worry about the problems you have. You kind of just, like, even then it was like, just let me build this car. Let me buy this. Let me race this. Let me do this. What cruising we're going to, like, and then you roll out 20 deep to drive 2 hours away or something like that. I do miss those days. That was fun.
If I remember right, working on cars too, especially when it comes to the import market, it's not necessarily inexpensive. So were you working at the time, or were you?
Yeah, I was working a little bit. I did have a spotty employment history up until I was probably 30. I don't know. I think that's when guys start to be like, I gotta have a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, probably, middle 20s or something like that. I was definitely working, but I think stuff was like a lot cheap. It was cheaper back then. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, and you could save money because you just didn't have so many extraneous expenses just eating you alive, like.
Very true. Cost of living is quite a bit lower.
It's just like all the extra stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and I think with me, when the way I got the car, this was kind of the path I was on. I'd get a car, and then somebody would hit me, and then I'd end up with another car. It happened like over and over and over. Like, it was definitely like a thing that went through. I was going through.
People like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, y'all. Thank you.
Like, thank you. Like, that's how I got the 240. I worked at AutoZone at that time, and I knew a guy was trying to sell it to me because some of my friends had them, and I was like, man, I just don't know where I'm gonna get the money. Well, somebody gave me the money. It hit me head on, and I had a bunch of money from that, and bought the car, bought the motor. Yeah, it wasn't stock very long, so it's like, I guess I hustled, you hustled that, or like, being around the cars back then, like somebody would do something like they need to sell a motor. I got the Civic motor, and they would tell me like, if you can find somebody to sell it, 200, and I would tell the other person like 350. You know what I mean? And it'd still be a deal. So it's like you would hustle around the car scene doing stuff like that. That's how I guess I did make some of my money back then, to be able to afford to build them. You know what I mean? They were never really that nice, but
Hey, dude, that's equipment networking. That's totally fine. That's legit. Like, hell yeah. That's awesome. So you got into the car community, all that kind of stuff. And you're pretty deep in it. It kind of brought you back to comfortable with yourself again and like kind of ready to be in the world. Was the struggle still there? Was like the depression still there? Was it now kind of curved because you had a community to talk through it with?
I think it was curved a little bit. Just like, I think like there's a lot of like happiness can come with a fast car.
Yeah.
You know,
Dopamine.
so
Yeah.
you know, you I guess like you get better, and then you're getting older. Like, you know, this is over years time, so it's like you just get better. Like, you know, you start to deal with it, you start to get better, you just get your mind together. You know what I mean? You get tired of being tired, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, and you use the car stuff. It just like it would be. And then it's like a double-edged sword too, because then you got your car and then it breaks. You know, then you don't have the money to fix it. Now y'all coming to the cruise in this weekend? Oh man, I can't, man. I broke an axle at the track. I can't make it. It's like, you know,
I'm gonna be in my living room.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, you can't yes, it's a double-edged sword, you know. But I mean, it definitely I guess with time heals. You know what I mean? The community definitely does. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and then like lots of, you know, just, you know, even if it's not going to the cruisings and stuff like that. I remember it just used to be a lot about like having a good system in my car and just driving around, listening to music, you know, for hours.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like just getting your peace like that. Using music to like kind of give you peace. Dude. Probably did a lot more of that when I was younger, you know.
That was mine. That was mine when I was younger. Like I'd mob around with the homies and stuff like that, but somewhere in the middle of the day or the end of the night, I'm like, all right, it's just me. And I would turn it like whatever. I was big into subwoofers. I was in that era.
Yeah.
43 years old.
Oh yeah, I know about it. Yeah. Hey, I know all about it. I'm trying to put a bang in my truck right now.
I had kids, so I had to take them out. That's what I'm saying. Enjoy your life when you're tired, you know, like, take them out, then you put the kids in because it's not good for the babies. But dude, yeah, I was just, that was my time. I would just mob. And back when gas was like, I mean, this was back when gas was like $1.50, $2, you know. I don't know what it is out there, but California it's like 5 something going up. But like this is way back when it was like $1.50, and I could just mob for a few hours, just waste burning gas, listening to music, like just getting my mental peace time.
Get your peace together.
Yeah, I can relate to that fully.
You know, heat on, windows cracked, and I would just ride around just with car loud and just. I remember I used to have like I'd try to empty a tank of gas in a night. Like I had like a circle that I would be like, you know, how many hundreds of miles can I drive? You know.
Yep. Did you ever do the thing where you'd roll down the windows to port the boxes to see how the song sounded differently? Roll the windows back up and listen to it again. Oh, I see it all the time. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay, so and you're coming out of that. What's life looking for you right now? Like are you still doing the car thing? Like, or where are you transitioning to at this point? Like, have you met your old lady yet, or are you kind of?
Nah, at that point, nah, not really. I think I kind of got away from the race car. I actually sold it.
Oh,
you know, I needed some money. I sold it. I let it go for like, if I'd have just held on to that car for like 5 more years, it would have been worth like so much more money. It was like, it's like one of my biggest regrets. I took like I don't even want to talk about that, but I will. Like I remember like I was having issues with it, you know, running right and just acting like race cars do and stuff. And like I remember the day I was selling it, me and my little brother took it, and it ran better than it ever did on that last day. And I remember leaving. It was like the hardest thing to do. I have a really hard time giving away cars. That's the only car I've ever sold.
Oh, that's right. Because all the other ones got hit. So
well, that too. But after that, you know, I tend to keep them, I guess, you know, or whatever, send them to the crusher, I guess. But like, I never wanted anybody to have my hard work, you know. And then I remember like selling that car, and then like a year later, somebody telling me like, I saw your car in a junkyard. Because the car was black, but I painted the engine bay purple.
Okay.
And I'm the only one that this obviously the only one like that. But I remember somebody found it in a junkyard. I was like devastated.
Yeah, dude.
You know, and it's like, you know what I mean? But it was just becoming you know, and it's just when you're younger too, it's like you want to start doing all them different things with the cars, but it costs so much, you know. It's not like you have adult money. You know what I mean? Like, you know. But you know, I think after that, what probably made me I mean, I held on to the cars for a while, but I didn't get another fast car for like a really long time, And then I think that's probably when I attached myself to the gym, to be honest with you. That was probably my next coping mechanism, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, dude, it's a process. You worked on your heart, now you got to work on your body. Like
for sure.
Yeah.
And I went all in with that, at the
Oh,
time. You know what I mean? So
let's talk about that, man. Because I mean, I've talked to you about diet, and you've told me like some of the meals that you'd be crushing, and you're like, I eat like 5 of these a day. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah.
you're just you out there. So let's hear this, dude. And
yeah, I've been. I guess like I said when I got to the gym, when I started going to the gym, it was because my best friend at the time, and he still is my best friend. He was going to the gym already, getting in good shape, But he's a skinnier guy. So he never really had to deal with the like being, overweight type situation. So it was just a different path. So I remember going to the gym for the one time and I just didn't enjoy it. It's so crazy to think about that now in hindsight, But he, like I said, he called me fat, and I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean? He told me, he said, you got a beer belly. And I said, oh, I got to go work out. And I had no idea what I was doing, you know what I mean? So it was another thing to like, I've always been like interested in trying to learn a new thing and like, I guess see the results, I guess. But I see that now, but I never looked at it like that. You know what I mean? Started going to the gym just really to get healthier.
Okay. Yeah.
Started going to the gym to get healthier, to lose weight. I didn't have any, ideas of being some jack dude walking around or, you know what I mean?
Like you are now.
Weight.
Just,
I mean, I'll do a little bit, But I latched onto that, and I remember I lost like 40 pounds, and everybody was just like, "Oh man, like you seen Chris?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I like this." You know what I mean? So let me lose 40 more. And it was like
shape right now.
Yeah. So it's like, I was probably 300 pounds or something dang near back then, and like. But like not a good, like you couldn't tell I did anything but crush pieces and donuts, you know what I mean? Yep. So it's like when I first lost, I remember I got down to like 200 pounds. It probably took me like a year or something, year and a half, and felt like a whole different person. I had a whole new renewed sense of self.
Yeah, that's all. That is a whole person. Like you shaved a whole person down, dude. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Were you like only doing shred programs, or were you like lifting and
I mean, I think I did a lot of cardio at that time. Like the first time I really got in there, once I figured out what I was doing and I realized I couldn't do what all my friends were doing that were already in shape, that were in the gym, you got to come up with your own way. So then you start researching stuff and trying stuff out, and there's never really been a guide. You got to figure out what works for you. You know what I mean? So it's like probably, I mean, it could all be done better, but you got to go through it to like get to see what you can do or can't do. Like, you got to be your own, you got to work towards your result to see like where you can, you know what I mean? Like, I think I did that I stayed pretty lean. I remember like I lost all that weight and then I would like get off the program and then you start gaining weight and then you're like, oh man, they don't tell you about the body dysmorphia. You know what I mean? Like,
let's talk about that though real quick. Like, how did that feel? Like you finally like, I feel like you reached your point. Was it like, I've got to where I want, now I can live the way I want again? And it
right. Exactly. Well. Yeah. And then it's like old habits, might slide in there. Those old ways, your bad relationship with food that you always, you maybe had back in the day, especially when you're depressed or whatever it is. It's like, you start doing some of that again and you gain some more weight. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you gotta figure it out again. And then you like, it's like by this time, like I said, I didn't start going to the gym till I was 24. Going on 25, maybe, So, I mean, I got to the game late,
The first time I set foot in the gym and actually took it seriously, I was 36 years old.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what's up.
But also, I was very active before that. So I had a thyroid condition. My thyroid stopped working and I gained like 30 pounds in a month. Like,
Oh,
I was
wow.
like in my neck, and it was bad.
Yeah.
So So there was a reason, or else I would have never done it. So I'm a late bloomer as well. But so you started at 24, you're getting in there. How you're talking about body dysmorphia? This is actually a pretty good topic, because a lot of people, they go to the gym to look better. So what kind of body dysmorphia? How did that work for you? How did you find out that was a thing?
I think I never imagined weighing what I did in high school, and I probably did it a lot. I did a lot of like intermittent fasting back then, if you're familiar with that, you know what I mean? So I'd be pushing these crazy, like at the time, like, 20-hour fast, 20-hour fast, 24-hour fast. Like, you get to like a place where, me being a very competitive person, you just start competing with yourself. You're like, I don't need food. I'll eat one big meal a day. Like, anything to see the scale move. You know what I mean? And like I said, I got down to that first, like, time I got down to 200. And then I remember I was like, well, this isn't sustainable. Like not doing this. You know what I mean? So I had to figure out, I probably rebounded like another 30 or 40 pounds. And I remember thinking, like, even when I first got that, I lost that much weight, I still saw myself as being like 300 pounds. Like it never, because I don't think at the time I didn't have a lot of muscle, because I hadn't been training that long. You know what I mean? So I didn't really have a lot of the size on me. You know what I mean? To look like I lifted weights.
You're just doing cardio, so you're shredding. You created this own program for yourself off like information that you found, right? So
yeah, for sure. So I didn't know, you know what I mean? I just, no, I wanted to not be that big. So it's like, then, you battle that for a little while. And then I remember I got probably, 250 or something again. And then I was like, I'm about to do this again. So probably by this time, I've been in the gym probably like 3 or 4 years. And then 3 or 4 or 5 years maybe. And then I got down to 200 pounds again. It's actually right before me and my girl met, before I flew out to Texas to get her. I got down to 199. And I actually looked like I lifted weights. You know what I mean? Like, for the first time ever, I felt like, and that was really gratifying, and then you still don't feel like you look as good as you did. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of my other friends that goes to the gym. He was big. We kind of did it together.
Yeah.
We did these like 12-week challenges together and stuff with, whole meal plan laid out and everything like that. You're just following somebody's YouTube channel, And I remember him battling with the same thing. Like, you get lean, and if you were really big before, like, you don't feel like you look, everybody sees it, but the majority of your life, you've been bigger.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you don't really, you don't see yourself change, because you see yourself every day. It's like, you're doing the work. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's kind of like having a puppy. I don't know if you ever had a puppy or a dog.
Yeah.
But when you get them as a puppy, you don't see them as a full-grown dog when they're 2 years old. You still see them as a puppy, because you watch them every day. You didn't actually, you watch them grow, but you didn't really take notice to it, because it's just so normal to see them every day. But if you look at a photo of 2 years ago, like, dude, you were tiny. Yeah. So
that just happened with our dog that we had. She got old on us. It's like, you just don't know. You don't realize they're old. They're old, but you don't, start doing the math. You're like, that was 8 years ago. Like, but but it's like, with the gym, I think that's what it's always kept me going to, like, be in better shape. You know what I mean? Just because it feels good. It's nothing feels like being healthy. At least, looking the part, because you could assume that some of it, maybe you're not the healthiest on the inside, but like, you're probably doing better than you were. You know what I mean? You feel better, you look better. So, it's like, the longer you do it, it sticks. And
plus it kicks off all these crazy different, like the testosterone and the dopamine and like all this stuff. Like, well, I know women get testosterone boosts from working out too, but like it gives all the good, healthy signals to your brain. Like, all these healthy chemicals get released during especially extensive workouts and extensive exercise.
Running. I was a runner. I was a runner for a minute. I thought I would try that out.
That's a different breed.
But in that time period, I was like, I'll run. I ran some 5Ks, and did stuff like that, and like that's a short distance. But I was always a big guy. Like it's not easy on you. You know what I mean?
No.
Like I did that for a little period of time, like because my mom was running at the time. Like me, her, my little brother ran 5K together. We run 5K together, I think it was.
That's awesome.
And she was a runner too. She had been always in the gym since I've been a kid.
All right,
Like,
all right, yeah.
But I didn't know why she was in there. She was just doing aerobics and all types of stuff, and then lifting little weights here and there. Like, so it's like she's never stopped doing it. So I mean, I guess it was natural that I attached myself to it eventually.
So when you're going down to Texas and you're getting ready to meet your lady and stuff. Now, were you actually like weightlifting at that point? Had you stepped off of cardio and started building? Because you said you felt like you had some muscle, like you looked.
Yeah, the reason why me and her even met was one of our other friends knew she was into powerlifting, which she was really strong,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of sent me over the profile. Like me and her met on Instagram.
Okay, yeah.
And started with a double tap was always what we say.
Yeah.
And she was powerlifting at the time, and I wanted some like tips and pointers and stuff. And then I started doing some stuff that she was telling me to do. And eventually we end up, when she moved here, months later, we end up doing the powerlifting meet together. Squat, bench, and deadlift. So it kind of turned into that. When we got together, it was like I was already doing some heavier lifting at the time for what I was capable of, and getting with her, like we just did the powerlifting thing. You know what I mean? Like that's what she was into, so that's just what we did together. Competed a few times together. She got really strong, won some stuff, and
That's awesome. I see you smiling. You're like,
it was cool, man. It's always cool. It's something I guess a lot. I mean, I think it's not something that I wish more girls knew they could be strong.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. You know what I mean? Like it's like they don't. I mean, I guess we were around a lot of female powerlifters and stuff, so it's like I love seeing that. And I get that kind of us being together like that. Then I would like do stuff like program some of her stuff for her meets, and then become her coach. And then I had a couple other people I was doing that for. Like just doing what I knew how to do. You know what I mean? Like just what I learned through my own time and work for me. So let's try this for you. You know what I mean? That was really gratifying there for a while. Like training some other people, but not like a trainer you see at the gym, but like just trying to get people to succeed at their own goals. And like if they come to you for help, like maybe I can help you. What I mean?
So okay, so I hear when it comes to the gym and it comes to healthy and it comes to lifting, it's 20% gym or 20% workout and 80% diet. Are you still doing the fast things, or have you created a new meal plan to help?
I have kind of like fallen off the train. I'm not, it's not like there's nothing I love more than going to the gym, but absolutely, like there is a conflict of interest when it comes to fishing.
Oh yeah.
It's been odd yin and yang, like something I always loved. Like I got in the gym and I loved it so much, and I've been bass fishing for a long time, and then that intensified through COVID and like got really, really deep into it. So it's like at the same time we're doing that, we were going to the gym, and then it's like it's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't do both, I mean, you can, but it's like, you really gotta, the late nights fishing, like, it's hard to get up when you've been, trying to catch the sun, the night bite is 10 o'clock. You get off, you got to be at the gym at, 5:30, like you're tired because you've been out in the sun all day. Like, so it's like, there's definitely been a fall off for me as I've taken fishing more serious.
Yeah.
To where I'm not in the gym as much as I was. but I also have luckily built like a base to where maybe I don't have to be in there to be as strong as I was or something, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I could definitely do better, I need to do better,
Well, I feel like because you're in Columbus, you're in Ohio. I mean, you travel all the time, but being in
Dayton,
Columbus, Ohio, or Dayton, you're Dayton. I see you in Columbus. That's where I see you. You're
Yeah.
Dayton. So, you could take like the winters off fishing and just do the gym on winter, and then like
Yeah.
kind of ride that road all summer. Go fishing all
Yeah.
day.
And I did, I guess.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I definitely was doing that, but then I like caught a bass in like January, and I was like, oh, I can do this. Like you can catch fish when half the pond's frozen. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So then you start doing that too. Like, you know what I mean?
You're like, I'm going to the gym, but I'm gonna make a stop first, real quick.
Yeah, it was like the last powerlifting meet I competed at. Like, I had you got like let's say you got a 6 or 8 week, 10-week prep where you're trying to peak all your strength. You know what I mean? Like on your squat, bench, and deadlift, and like I didn't get to squat and deadlift as much, but what I did I remember specifically like doing the math, like how can I keep my legs and like hips really strong? All weighed. So I waited a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's true.
and that's how I stay. I kind of like mesh the two. You know what I mean? Like I still got to do both of what I love. You know what I mean? But it's like it's hard.
Cold plunge and workout at the same time. Hell yeah.
And like a really good meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it definitely it's hard. It's hard to do both.
Yeah.
Like you're the deeper you get into the fishing stuff, you're not up thinking about what should I eat today. You're like, oh man, they're probably biting. Like, let me go hit this. Let me skip this workout. Let me, and then you're out there all day, like trying to figure out how to keep your nutrition together. Like when you're fishing all day, it's like really difficult. You know what I mean? Like you have to be like so intentional with it. And like, it's still a battle, regardless of the accrued acumen I had, like on like how to not eat like, complete trash. Like it's just really hard to do, like
absolutely. Absolutely. My wife thinks I live a secret second life because every time I get a chance to actually go get out in the kayak and go fishing, like I'll take that day,
Yeah.
And then I come home and she's like, do you have a secret life? Because there's like fast food wrappers and gas station candy packets and like all over my truck. And I'm like, I'm hungry.
Yeah. And that's, now that you say that, it does kind of make me think that maybe that's where some of that started to slip back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it definitely was not a part of the eating fast food and snacks and, whatever else I was you were doing. Like those were like basically sins to me. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I would never eat that again. Like, but then you're like, man, I've been out all day.
Yeah.
Wendy's,
Wendy's, and then we're gonna hit Jack in the Box right before we bend the corner of the house. It's like it's like this crazy carb dump you need. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. So it's like you're just like, I just need calories. Like, so let me just do that. And this is, So I mean, it's I could do better. That's kind of. Work gets in the way, stuff gets in the way. It's like you just maybe you got to have a moment to realize you should still be striving for excellence in that way, I guess, so you keep your health together, you want to be able to fish long too,
Yeah. But so, okay. So you're having this duality, this balance struggle right now, like fishing and weightlifting and stuff like that. But we're going to jump ahead a little bit. I recently saw that you guys, in the last year have gotten some kayaks and you've been doing some work on them, so explain to me, like, because I know from talking to you and then from small amounts of your posts, you're not necessarily the most comfortable on the water. How because I'm not comfortable on the water either. So do you want to delve into that at all?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's my, I mean, kind of how that's, I guess we could go do the lore. Do the origin story,
Let's do it. Let's hear the lore. I'm interested.
It's very bullet pointed, I guess. Like it's there's definitely a sequence of events from where that started and where it is now. Over the last 5 years. Kind of. I guess I kind of got back into when I got back into bass fishing and taking it serious. I had always had this dream of fishing a tournament. and I didn't know how to do that. Like, I'm in Ohio. I didn't own a boat. Like, nobody, you know what I mean? Like, I fished the river with my grandpa. He had a canoe, but I was absolutely never doing that by myself. Like, like I just didn't have that. So one day we found out about these local small tournaments they have. They have John boat tournaments. You paid like $65 or $80. You go out with 25, 30 other guys. They got all the John boats are already belong to the park. You bring your tackle, your trolling motor, or whatever.
That's awesome.
And I was pushed by my girl to do said tournament.
Yeah,
And
she's motivating.
She is very motivating.
Met her. She's a very motivating person. Yeah. She's very charming. Yeah.
She's always pushing me to try to be better, especially with the fishing stuff. And I remember she called me one day after work and she was like, "What's up, teammate?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, she's like, "You're my teammate. We're gonna fish this tournament." And I was like, "For real?" I'm like, "I don't know about that." Like, I hadn't been on the water in a boat in like since I was 20, probably 4 or 5, like in the canoe. So this I'll circle back to that here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
She calls me and says, "We're gonna do this tournament." And I was like, "I don't know, man, like the boat, I don't know." She made me do it. She made me, basically, we went down and drove down to where this tournament was going to be at, and she rented a boat for an hour and made me get in the boat.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was going to have the trauma response that I did to being in said boat. I remember, like, we paddled out. I'm like, "All right, I'm in the boat." Like, I got like one rod because I'm like, I'm gonna make a few casts, I guess, since I'm out here.
Yeah.
And this is 2020, and we get out in the boat, and I remember it's not she wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
But like maybe like rocking the boat or playing around, and I'm like, yo, like I'm freaking out, like, like, because it didn't seem like that would be a reasonable thing for somebody to panic about, like being in a boat, what I mean? Like, even for myself, and I remember, like, we get over to this laydown or whatever, and I throw my Senko, and I'm just trying, like, well, let me just try to fish and like stay focused. Try to not freak out, Well, I freaked out. Basically had a panic attack on the water. In the midst of having said panic attack on the water, my nose started bleeding. Like, we're talking about full blood pressure shot up, like nose started bleeding. And then I realized I'm hooked up. And I get the bass in, and there is like a picture of me on my IG holding this bass. And I'm covered in my own blood and the bass's blood because, unfortunately, it swallowed the Senko.
Oh!
And that pretty much, sent me off to the races, I guess. And then we started doing those tournaments. I kind of still wasn't okay with being in the boat, but we made it a goal to try to fish these things. And boy, it was so hard to, like, I had never fished out of a boat by myself. Neither had she. Like, trying to figure that out, like realizing we needed a trolling motor. I didn't have that stuff, like, we drove like 2.5 hours away to buy some trolling motor for some lady so we could do this tournament. I didn't know what I was doing.
You get like a 9.9 or something crazy.
It was a whole Minn Kota, like C30 or whatever.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah, like, since it was just a little John boat tournament. So that's what we saw, we heard the guys had. So we get that, and we started fishing these tournaments. And I definitely got, at the time, I started getting a little more comfortable on the water. And there was probably 5 or 6 maybe tournament days between like 2 different lakes.
Yeah.
And the first year I feel like we did almost every one, the goal was first to just catch fish. Definitely wasn't doing that. It was very embarrassing. Once we figured that out, the more time you're out there, I think that's how you get more comfortable. And it all kind of turned into, we did it for 1 year. We did another year. We skipped another year. We skipped the second year maybe. And then the third year that we did that, I think would have been 2022.
Mm-hmm.
We said we're going to fish every tournament, and the goal is to get to the championship. And also, it was very important that we got to the championship because with her, with my girl, it would have been the first girl to ever fish this championship. So like it's a small thing, but it's got a storied history of a bunch of guys that have been doing this when they were kids with their dads, and now they're 40, 50 years old, and they can remember like back in 92, like I remember fishing this. Like, so you're around a bunch of people that are like, hammers on those lakes in that series. Like, we made it a goal, like we're gonna fish hard as we can. And, we took turns, sometimes it was her day, sometimes it was my day, but we got to the championship.
Hell yeah,
and,
dude. Yeah.
Somewhere in between these tournaments, though, being the fact of wanting to be on the water more, we end up getting some kayaks. Definitely wasn't fond of the idea of getting kayaks,
Yeah.
I think it was probably the second year that we did the John boat thing, or in the midst of that somewhere, it was like she loved being on the water so much, so wanted to be in a kayak. So she ended up, we ended up getting some kayaks. And the first time out in that kayak in the midst of doing these John boat tournaments, I was actually okay. Felt a little weird, but I had been on the water in the John boat, so I'm like, oh, this is just the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't really that bad, I continued to fish out of the kayak a few times. We went to some other lakes, like took some trips and stuff like around Ohio. Never really had an issue with the trauma, I think I dealt with it, early on, getting back on the water, and then I really didn't even know where it came from.
I was gonna say you had like a visceral physical response and then caught a fish at the same time, which is like
really cool.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's like the most incredible first catch. So, but like, you don't know where that came from. It just
this is what happened. I end up trying to think about like why did I panic? Well, what caused me to panic was being we had some we got some big fish 120s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the time it was the biggest stable boat we could afford. We had those, me, her, and our other buddy, we got them together. Was out in them. It's fine. Well, we go to a local lake, and my buddy is in front of me, and we're in like 20, 30 feet of water or something like that, and he flipped out of his boat, out of his kayak. I had no idea. In a big fish. But the boat didn't flip.
Oh, he just fell out.
The seat popped off. He leaned over and the seat popped off, and he like front back flipped something right next to me. I had no idea what to do.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I'll get the boat. You okay? Like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Here comes our other buddy zooming over. This is probably where I ended up with the boat I have now. He comes zooming over on the Unlimited, flying over. Is everybody okay? I'm like, oh, I think he's okay, And at the time, I was like, man, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, then another buddy of mine like flipped, but didn't want to tell anybody in our crew that he flipped because he knew I was already tripping. Like, I was on edge about the whole kayak thing anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they basically both flipped, and that took me out of the kayak. I think I was like, well, whatever trauma and fear I have, like, this is totally reignited, whether I'm in the John boats, next weekend or not.
Mm-hmm.
I got out the kayak, would not get in the kayak, and I started thinking about where it came from. Well, if you circle back to like the canoe thing, I always felt comfortable in the canoe. Used to go out and do the Bellbrook. There's a place here called Bellbrook on this other little tributary we have, and everybody goes out and they do the cabrewing thing. You know what I mean? If y'all do that there, y'all might do it. Everybody goes, and I didn't. But me and my buddy at the time were in one. Two big, strong guys. We're canoeing along, paddling, and we went over a little rollover, and we flipped. It was like I still like visually remember it being like a reenactment of when somebody's drowning. Like I couldn't touch the bottom. We went into a strainer basically with the canoe, pushed us over. We got buddies over here. They're laughing, playing. You know, people don't move out the way. Flipped. Well, at the time, that did not bother me. You know, I mean, I did whatever you're going to do, save my life. We went home. I don't even think we talked about it. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, man, are you okay? Like, you're younger, too. You know, so, like, you kind of bounce back from it. Flipped, you know, grabbed whatever branch you could step on. It was way over our heads. Somehow flipped the canoe over, got back in, finished the float, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I just, like, packaged that away for, like, another, I don't know, 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, didn't really think anything of it. Probably longer than that, for real. But I think that's where the source of all this, like, really started.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude, you get dumped in moving water. It just pushes you down over and over and over.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like tumbling, like the whole nine, you know. So when my buddies flipped or, you know, fell out or whatever, I think that's what got me, like, you know, all of it just started coming together. You know, and I just had a trauma response to it. I didn't really even think that's why I even, you know, panicked the day we got in the John boat, but I knew I didn't like being in the water. But, you know, the more you start trying to piece it together, like, why do I feel like this? Like, everybody else is out here comfortable. Like, why can't I be comfortable?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's, you know, so, I mean, you know, basically I'm like, well, I'm not doing the kayak thing anymore, you know? So it's like, I guess we'll just wade the bank, you know, or beat the bank. Like, but I knew I needed to work on that because I knew I wasn't ever going to reach any sort of like potential as an angler, as a person, like being just, you know, being afraid to like try to get better, you know. That year that we made the championship, me and Destiny, there's a two-day tournament. It was in October. Me and her fished the first day together, and she thought she flies a lot for work.
Yeah.
She thought it was a one-day tournament. Well, it turned out it was a 2-day championship. So the next morning, that night after the first day, she was going to be gone.
Oh.
So I was going to have to fish this by myself.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So I was like, well, we made it this far. I got to try to, like, you know, me and her, you know, her and myself, really a lot of her, you know, pushed us to get, you know, to where we could fish this championship, fish with all these other guys that always have done this and, you know, be competitive. You know, we made it there. You know, the first day was kind of a rough day of fishing. And then, you know, she left and I had to like really do some soul searching to me like, no, this is like, you know, we can't quit. Like, you know, I remember her saying to me too, like, are you gonna do it? I'm like, yeah, I have to do it. Like, I don't want to quit. You know what I mean? Like, all the while I'm doing this is like part of my journey back into the kayak. Like, I'm secretly like doing these little things, like fishing these John boat tournaments, or like, you know, doing weird stuff like wading by myself, like just trying to be okay by myself. Because I knew if I had a kayak again one day, I was going to have to be by myself at some point. You know, like you're not always going out there. Your buddy might be across the lake. You know what I mean? So you had to like be okay with yourself.
Yeah.
So I fished that second day of the tournament of that championship, and it was like the best day of fishing I ever had in my life. Not
nailed it.
It took everything I had to like get that boat out on the water, like pushing along this little 30-pound, you know, trolling motor, get to my spots that I know produce fish like all year, and like catch them the way I wanted to catch them. I didn't, you know, how it's not a big bag situation, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember having such a good day fishing that championship by myself. Like, I end up like pulling us like back up into like second place, like by myself.
Oh yeah, dude.
And you know, I'm like, man, it was cool. I'm like flipping a jig, like getting bites like that, like found a small school fish, throwing a spinner bait. Like, it was like I knew what I was doing. Like, nobody else was there to, you know, see if I was okay, or like, you know, like you catch a big one. I remember the tournament director came around like, Chris, you got a big one? I'm like, I'll pull it out the cooler, you know, not the cooler like we eating it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a little frozen, but he's right here.
You know? But I remember them being like, you know, then you finish the tournament and, you know, you get to the weigh-in and stuff. And I remember people coming up like, you caught him, huh? I'm like, man, this feels good.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
you
dude.
know, and I having the second biggest bag of the day and almost had big bass that day. That was like one of the most gratifying like experiences as an adult that I think I've ever had. Like coming up with the courage to finish something, like, and actually doing good.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, that was part of me getting back in the kayak. So like once I did that, I think it was probably like, I mean, we didn't get the kayaks till this year because you're just trying to figure out what you're going to get into. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Did a couple more of those tournaments. And then it was just kind of like, man, we got to get a boat. We got to do something. Yep. You know what I mean?
We got to get our own. Yeah.
We got to get our own. So it was like last year would have been the final year we did those because they were like doing some weird dredging at the lakes and they were trying to kill this like 30-some-year-old program that they had going anyway just to save money. You know, it kind of was timely. You know what I mean? Because like I guess I reached my peak at what I was going to do there, you know, and we both did. And then it was just like about trying to do something else and just keep growing, you know? And then I settled on, we decided we were going to get kayaks again, you know, like, I don't know. It was kind of like it was a big ask, but it was like, it was something that needed to happen. What made me decided to get my own was I started fishing the river here again, and our friend, y'all know, our friend Ryan Dahl had a spare kayak, a couple of spare Hobies, very convenient.
Yeah. Hey, those are comfortable kayaks.
Got a couple extra PAs, you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
You know, I mean, and there's nobody more comfortable on the water than that man that I know.
Oh yeah.
He asked us it would have been last June, I think, to come out, like, and I was finally just like, all right, man, like let's do it, you know. And I got to pick my river that at least I waited, and like there was some familiarity there, like, you know, you don't just want to go anywhere, you know. Yeah. He put us out there and we ended up catching some fish that day. It was very gratifying to like get back in. I call it 1975, like small.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? Like just back in the kayak after like it was basically like 2.5 years that we had been out of the kayaks. So it was like kind of like, I guess, a sign like maybe you need to keep doing this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like all these signs are happening over and over and over again.
You know,
that's awesome.
So I was appreciative that like he, you know, took us out and, you know, gave us the opportunity to do that, because it would have been really hard to just buy a kayak and then be like, man, this sucks, I don't like it. You know what I mean? So I got lucky enough to be able to use that, you know, PA-12, and our girl, she used the other one, and we would get out there here and there. It kind of accelerated kind of quick at that point. Once it was like, you know, Ryan, it's like, it's all or nothing. You know, oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Like, you got it now. I'm like, oh, I guess, you know what I mean? So somewhere in there, like maybe we decided we were in July, we were going to the Susky. Yeah. Now here I am just getting back in the kayak. You know what I mean? We ended up going to the Susky, and he took me out in the kayak maybe like, I don't know. I guess after I went out in it, we went out in it that day locally. We went to the Susky, and I was just like, I'll just pedal around, like no big deal. You know, me and her, you know, we're out there together. We ended up catching some fish, and I was doing okay. Yeah. You know, like I didn't really have any like weird panic attacks at that point. You know, I guess you kind of like feel comfortable in the boat, like, you know, and you keep it like at a comfortable, manageable level. You know, you're like, I'm in a Hobie, like, you know, like this will be fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's I you know went to the Susky. We did the Susky thing. The first day we get there though, it's on a rise, and when the Susky gets on a rise, like it is like there ain't water here. That's that fast.
No.
Like,
no.
you know, I remember my girl, she almost got blown down the river. He had to go get her. Like it was a whole situation, you know, like it just because it was just, you know,
Yeah. The water moves,
you
man.
know, water
He's
moves,
gone.
you know.
Yeah.
But we, you know, we did the Susky trip, like caught some smallmouth. And I mean, I think that time on a new river in a whole new place, just been in the kayak, like basically like one time previous to that. You know, everybody tells you it's gonna be fine, but it's like, you know, I remember I went out one night, it was him, and I specifically remember like these, you know, these little things where I'm like, I gotta keep getting better at this.
Mm-hmm.
I went out with him and he was supposed to meet Shrinko and we was gonna do some topwater fishing. Well, they had motors.
Yeah.
I didn't have a motor.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's go. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, hey, they out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, let me just go back. You
Yeah.
know, and then I started being like, okay, let me try to fish this little small section here, like by myself. You know what I mean? Like, I think the being out there, like, just there's nobody else around. You know what I mean? But I stayed by the ramp and like kind of just kept working on it. You know, like the caught a couple fish, and I'm like, I have this thing where it's like, if I succeed at what I'm trying to do, like I'm like, oh, okay, that was cool. Like I don't need to do. I want to keep doing it, but I'm not like got to be out there, got to do more of this, got to like, you know, it's like a progression for me, I guess, you know. So it's like I went to Susky, caught some fish, like I was satisfied. You know what I mean? Came back from that trip, and it was like, well, we're gonna go back. So I got taken on my first float by Mr. Ryan Dahl. It was 9 miles. Oh, and I had never been on a float before. Even went to Susky, we were just doing like little down the stream, like come back around the island, like play around. It's summer, it's low, you know what I mean? Went on a float because I had just put a motor on. This is, I was like, you know, I'm basically renting a kayak at this juncture, and I bought a whole Newport and like built this thing because I'm just, you know, maybe I'll end up buying it, you know. Yeah. So we went on a float, and that kind of like reignited the trauma because I hit a rock like in the middle of this rapid. You know, had never seen a rapid in a kayak, you know, but in like 3 weeks we're going to the Susky to do this whole situation, you know. So he took me on the biggest float we had, the nastiest, you know, current and rapids and everything else we had, you know. And I mean, I survived, you know what I mean, but I was really doing good until I hit that rock.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like I was really proud of myself like that whole day. And then I'm coming down some rap, and he's like, paddle to the left. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just got in this thing. Like, you know,
come on.
you know, and I'm like, he's like, you know, lean this way. And I'm like, I blast this rock. I jump out in the middle of this like 2 foot of like just ripping current that like rips around a tree. And then there's another thing that I'm supposed to get around. Well, I'm not getting back in there. You know, I just got out and then drug it over to the bank and was like, you know.
Yep.
So, you know, I mean, I was with, like I said, like I did that float with Ryan and Andrew Hayes. Like, you know, they're my boys. Like, I feel they're on the river as much as anybody could possibly be. So it's like I'm in good hands, you know. So I trusted them, and I still do. I just hitting the rock really threw me. Yeah. And then from then on out, like I had like this reinvigorated, you know, like I got through the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like
you're gonna think about that for a month. You're just like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, so what if this happens? Like, you know, like what if I would have flipped? You know what I mean? Like in the current.
The
like,
most
you know,
dangerous game, the what if game. The most dangerous game. Yeah.
So I started playing that game, you know, and like it's like we get through the rest of it, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, that's right, there is one more rapid. It's the biggest one. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not built for this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but like I said, I end up getting through the whole thing. Like, it was cool, and then we end up like a month later doing the whole Susky thing, you know, and that was prep for that, I guess, by you know their you know
their standard.
design.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
this is what they do. They do that float every weekend. Like, I've not ever seen a kayaking current. Like, what are you saying? Like,
But I mean, even as a kid, you weren't down for practice. Like, don't take me to practice because let me play the game.
right.
Talking about practice?
No practice. Like,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of like, by that time, it's like I'm in a boat. I feel like I'm comfortable in and everything. It's like you just keep trying to trust your gear. You're trying to trust the people around you. Like, you're trying to, trust, obviously, that nobody will put you in a situation where you would, have an issue, and I think I mean, I obviously grew from that. That would have been last year. You know what I mean? Like, getting back in the kayak after 2 years and last year, and that's my progression. Is like, go out one day, catch basically a 20, do like go to S2E13, catch some fish, get out in crazy current. I lived like, and then the next, I do that crazy float, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like, what if this happens there?
Yeah.
And we did, we like I said, we ended up going back to the S2E13, doing this. Every day was a struggle for me.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like it was hard for me to even think about putting a boat in the water, and you're with, you're with people that's all they do. So they don't get it. You know what I mean? But one thing I am thankful for is being around people on that trip last October at the S2E13 with 3 dudes that it was me, Ryan, Andrew, and Dylan. That's all they do. Yeah. I would have never, I'm going to be honest with you, I would never have attempted that by myself. I could care less about a smallmouth. Ain't even interested.
Yep.
Don't even care. Like, but because I'm with these other people that you've grown to be friends with, and after that trip, it made us a lot closer. Because not one time did they ever make me feel bad about how I felt.
Yeah.
Like they started to understand like what I was dealing with and was willing to help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's hard for some people that are so efficient at something to help somebody that's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Yeah. Like I had never been up current with a motor. I had never, like, none of these things. They were all new to me. Like, and I'm just following them. And I remember we get on this one run and we start going up these ledges, and I'm just like, I'm just following y'all. And then there's a rock in the current, and they're like, well, I'm gonna go back this way. And I remember, Andrew start floating backwards. He's like, we gotta go back. I'm like, I ain't gotta do nothing. I don't know what do what, how? Like, how do I turn this thing around? Like, what?
Backwards?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, but that day made it better because once we finally got to where we were going, it was some of the craziest fishing that all of us, it was a bluebird sky, and it just didn't matter what you threw in the water, Yeah. They were just they were annihilating a jerkbait on a bluebird day like you couldn't even just imagine. So it made it worth it. But then we had to leave.
Oh yeah.
We had to go downstream. So here I am, the guy that hit the rock, and I'm traumatized by that.
Yeah.
I just decided I was going to start dragging my kayak, and they all went. I don't know where I was going. I freaked out. Jumped out the boat and was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to read the V's. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what's a rock. I don't know. Yeah. I did kind of drag that trip along. Like we got back pretty late. It was dark. Only like one person had a headlamp. Yeah. And I mean, I'm thankful for the people I'm with. They were the best group of guys I could have been with under the circumstances. And I got out of it safe. You know what I mean? But it's still like that was basically like, that was the last day of the trip. Yeah. But the 3 days previous to that, when we went out, it was hard to even get out. You know what I mean? Like, when to get out and drag your kayak and then being able to get back in the kayak. And then like you got water in your boat. And it's like, there's an obstruction here. Come on over here. They telling you that. I'm like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to do that. I didn't. grow up in the water. Like I went out in the canoe a couple times.
Yeah. It's got fins, not legs. You know, you got to kind of like
yeah.
like, this is weird.
But I see by that time in October, I had the motor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had the motor. So I mean, it made it easier, but it was just the going downstream thing. I just skipped all that. You know what I mean? I just was like motor upstream, get out. You know, like it's you know, it didn't. It didn't. I guess I got like fast tracked. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you definitely jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But
know.
Okay, so you said a lot of stuff in there that I really like. So like I have a struggle being on the water. I'm not a very good swimmer, so I panic, you know, like, and for like the first 30 minutes minimum of my fishing trip, it doesn't matter like where I'm at, who I'm with. It could be glass calm water in 4 feet deep. And like, I'm still just a wreck. Like I can't think straight. Like I can't figure out what I'm doing. Like, and my trauma response, basically my trauma response is to disassociate. And when I disassociate, I go into second nature, and second nature is to just cast. And then I just start casting until whether I catch fish or like my brain catches up with my body, and I kind of slow my thought process enough to be like, all right, this ain't that bad, dude. Like I'm out here. This is a beautiful area around me. Like I can start really becoming like present in the moment. But you said that you had guys with you that helped keep you present in the moment, which is super awesome. So yes, you were going through a lot of fear, and you were like basically gutting yourself in front of everyone, you know, because for me, I get embarrassed when I go out with people. I'm like, I'm new. I don't know. Like, I'm just so embarrassed because I'm so on the water. I suck, you know, like I'm panicking. But what ends up happening is like you said, you're with a group of guys that are a good, close community of friends. And they were there with you to help you. They were confident. They were taking you through it. Hey, dude, we're just going to do this. We're just going to do this. And you plugged along, dude. Like you fought through so much fear, even when you jump out of the kayak and walk it. Like you're still like, for me, I'd still be in the water and uncomfortable as hell. Like I don't want to be in here. This is not cool. You know, so like you went through all of that, you know, and at the end of the day, like not only did you get to be vulnerable, but they got to actually be able to be like empathetic with you and like feel where you're feeling, you know, and see where you're coming from and be able to be there for you. Like that's an awesome experience. Catching fish, icing on the cake, but like the experience itself, it sounds like it was almost like a life-altering circumstance for you to be able to like rebuild yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, even if I started to think about it even more, I realized like when I said I went on that long 9-mile float, you know, you going out with two people, you know, I'm with Ryan, I'm with Andrew that day. Andrew's already fishing. He been in the water 45 minutes. I'm stalling. I'm like getting stuff, you know, and I mean, you got a dog like, come on, man, come on. We got to get Smalley time. That's always what he says. It's Smalley time, man. You know, and I'm like, yeah, man, for you. Like, you know, I'm just happy you lucky I'm even in the water. You know what I mean? I remember I had like that long float, even like we went over one rapid and I had a complete emotional breakdown.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And then after I had the most sad emotional breakdown, like, you know what I mean? Like I called my girl, she always gives me comfort and was like, come on, you're here to fish. Just focus on the fishing. You know what I mean? That's always what she tells me, you know, you can do it. Like if one person is out here, you can be out here too. You know what I mean? So it's like, I went through it. So it's like by the time you get to the Susky and we do that, you know, that whole 4 days of I was just every time happy to get the boat in the water and be sitting in the boat. Like you said, it's crippling. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's clear water. And I don't even know what I don't like better. You know, I think when I went to the Susky, like everything I'm trying to check these bullet points off. We go to Susky, it's low and clear. So we're fishing dams and it's 8-10 feet of visibility. Like I'm seeing big giant, I don't know what, swim under the kayak. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know about this. Like, you know, you see a whole tree and you can see the whole tree. And it's like your imagination starts playing tricks on you. And like you said, focus on the fishing. And I just try to focus on the fishing. And it made it a little better. It's really bad for me when I'm not catching fish.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You know, like if I'm
Yep.
catching fish, then I can kind of shift my focus.
Yeah.
You know, like I got like I appreciate you saying that because it is like we got another friend like that too. He had an issue where he basically flipped over a waterfall that he didn't know was there, and like
Oh,
people they basically had to get saved, and you know, and he's totally traumatized from it. But it's like he don't necessarily talk about it as much. You know what I mean? Just because I think some people deal, you know, everybody deals with their stuff different. You know, so it's like that's my thing. Is like, you know, talking to you about this and just putting my stuff out there. I just want people to know, like a lot of people are probably dealing with this.
yes.
You know what I mean? Or rather, if you're in the kayak, like you work at Kayak City, and you're over here
Wow.
saying you don't feel comfortable, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
there. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
there. Yeah, but I'm not
you're
comfortable
around
in it.
how
Yeah,
many people? Like, how many other people aren't comfortable in the water?
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
got to be more. You know, and I've talked to some other people, and they'll say stuff like, "Yeah, I don't like being over." Like some bass, like you know, bass boat guys. Yeah, like when I see the treetops, like then I start thinking about how much I'm in the water, and I look at my graph, and we're in like a 50-foot tree, and then I start spinning out. And these guys that fish this every weekend, like you know,
Yep.
professionally, like they're still like worried about it. You know what I mean? Like it's a very weird thing. Like it's obviously it's warranted. It comes with you need to respect water. You know.
Yeah. Yep.
You
Yep.
know. Ironically though, like I guess the thing like me in a bass boat, I'm like leaning on the power pole, like skipping under trees, like
It's like you're on
you know,
land. You're like, yeah.
yeah. I'm like, exactly. You're like, this thing's it's the flipping thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's not so much like the falling out thing. Like I think I have a fear even in the kayak of like having a heat stroke and falling out the boat. You know what I mean? Like I fall out in a cove, nobody can see me. They just see my boat. You know, I don't know. Like it's like you spiral out. Like, you know, like it's you know.
I'm a huge proponent for the PFD. Only
Yeah.
because like when I was told when you get your first kayak, you need to flip it to see how much it could take. And I did not want to do that. But the first day I took my first kayak out, I did everything that I needed to do. And then I went right next to the dock at the end of the trip, like at
Yeah.
the end of the fishing trip, even though we didn't catch fish, we were just paddling around. I went right next to the dock and I had my homie up there and I was like, hey, film. But if I don't come up, it's only 9 feet. So I'm down there somewhere, like just come
Right.
get me,
Right.
like, because
Yeah.
I never had like a PFD before, I had like the little orange vest that you wear,
Yeah.
different places. But I never really had a real PFD. So when I went over, it was actually harder for me to get out from under the boat because the kayak under the kayak,
Oh,
because
it
the
pushed you.
PFD was already like lifting me up, and I was like, oh my god, like it. So I'm a huge proponent of PFDs. I got a couple of them. I got a inflatable and then a regular one, and I mean that's like really my saving grace. Like if I forget one, my whole trip is done. Like I'm not getting in
Oh
the
yeah.
water. I'm not even
No,
getting
absolutely.
close to it. No, thank you. I swim like a stone, bro. I swear my
Yeah.
bones are made of rock because I
Yeah.
just straight to the
Yeah.
bottom. So every time
Yeah.
I'm doing flip videos or anything, I promise you, except for that first one, I promise you all of them are in water that I could stand up in if I needed to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's
yeah.
a thing. I'm the
I
shallow end killer at the pool party.
I
I'll be
used to,
there.
I used to, when I was younger, dive in the deep end and all type of stuff like that. And then
Mhm.
I started, to circle back to like me lifting weights. Well, bone density is a thing. And I think that I eventually like had enough like muscle mass and just bone. I remember specifically like getting in the ocean and being like, what's wrong with my body?
Yeah.
Like I can't swim now.
Yep.
Not like I
Yeah.
could. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just always think about this. Like you say, like wearing a PFD, I would never touch it.
Yeah.
I would never touch a boat one without a PFD on,
Yep.
especially a kayak.
Yep.
Like, make sure you get a good one. That's
Yeah.
spend the money. Like,
Yeah. It's worth
it's
every
like you're
penny when
only
you
as
go
good.
over.
Yeah, you're only as good as your gear when it comes to safety.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
people that don't wear it because they're uncomfortable always confuses me. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you don't know. I'd rather
Yep.
err on the side of be prepared and not need it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Get a good inflatable.
Yeah.
Those are comfy,
Yeah.
and they're like almost not there. It feels
Right.
weird for me for the first couple trips because it didn't feel like it was there, and I was a little odd. But you did say something when you said weightlifting. It kind of popped in my mind, like, how would you take this experience with Ryan and Andrew and Dylan and the guys, like the guys who are there to build you up, to show you how to do it right? Would you say that would be similar to how you were teaching people how to lift weights and how to run a
Yeah.
program?
Yeah, I think so.
They're kind of like running you a program on the river.
Yeah, yeah. It might be like, throwing me right into grease, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
but at least you
Yeah.
get to see somebody that's like really good at it. And I guess
Yeah.
that's the other, that's probably honestly something I struggle with too, maybe being out there. I've never really, I guess most stuff I do, I'm good at. I am not
Gotcha.
good at doing the kayak thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I
High
think
five.
that's what you know what I mean? Like I want to push myself to be good. It's like the thing of doing something every day you don't want to do.
Yep.
So when you're around people that are professional at it and don't think about it, you can do it. You know what I mean? So it's like a sense of there's community, like you're following the leader, and they can do it, So it's been the fishing in general, especially the kayak stuff, has been like a crazy thing to, like, number one, meet new people and make friends when you're old, because not a lot of people get to do that.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people, they don't have any friends. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, because they don't have, like, there's not, that's just, it's hard to do when you get older, So if you can then grow with your tribe, you know what I mean? And you're the person that you deem yourself. It's hard to admit, like, I'm not good at this. So many people don't do stuff because they're not good at it. I know I'm trash at being in a kayak, so I want to do everything I can to watch other people, like you said, that I think are really good at it, and learn from them.
Yeah.
And be vulnerable like this. And, luckily you got people that support you, even just the rest of our crew. Like, people support it, they it's hard to find, like, hard to find support for stuff like that, especially when you maybe even become a burden on the said trip. Maybe a little bit. You know what I mean?
That kind of like builds a little bit of, like, not necessarily fear, but like more insecurity, where you're like, man, I swear, like, I'm ruining everybody's trip. Like, I'm just, you're getting in your own head about it, when really, dude, like, it sounds like you're right where you need to be, bro. Like, they want you to succeed, and the only way you can succeed is by growing. And if you got in a kayak and you were hella good at it super fast, do you think you'd still be intrigued to go again and again and again?
Probably not. I mean, that's why what made us then buy them, I mean, I don't know. The Hobie was cool, but I think, like, what I got told, I mean, this is my girl telling me, you should probably, like you said, like, she's just very supportive of me, like back when you had race, she didn't know me when I had race cars, you know what I mean? And building all that stuff. She's like, you need to build it like a car. Maybe you can be more attached to it. You know what I mean? So how it handles, and how safe it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how to push your envelope. So, I mean, that's what got me in the widest, most stable kayak that I think you could buy that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And I've been happy with it ever since. Like, we got them in January in that new canoe, that unlimited, the 12.
Yeah.
And that thing is, like you said, you keep pushing yourself to do stuff to get better. Buying the kayak was a pain point, because I knew now I was going to have to commit to actually going out there.
Yep.
Yeah. I definitely had to push myself, like I said, every time. Still, even with this one, there's flurries of it, though. Like, some days are good, some days are bad. It's never really like I look forward to the days where I just throw the thing in there, and I just, after work, I just throw it in the river, and I'm like, all right, go out for a couple hours, like, but I ain't nowhere near there yet,
Yeah.
Like, I'm at the, when me and my girl go out, we got walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
That's something I would recommend to anybody. If you feel like you're a little self-conscious, or, you're not feeling good, get the walkie, because none of these lakes have service.
Yeah.
So at least you can be like, you good? All right, where you at? Oh, 3 coves up. Okay. Like, it does make you feel like you're still with somebody, even though maybe you're fishing this finger and they're half a mile away. Like, you know, so at least you're out there. You feel like you got somebody around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah, dude. No, I back it 100%. I think walkies is a good idea. I'm gonna probably talk to my buddy Andy about getting some walkie talkies because he's basically the only guy I go out with, anyways. Him and
yeah,
my buddy Lynn and Steve. But Lynn and Steve are newer friends. Me and Andy, like, that's my dog. So yeah.
mm-hmm.
But okay, so lately you've had the support group, you've got the kayaks. Side note, I think that working on your kayak and building stuff and making your kayak the way you want it is just as fun as fishing out of it. Personally,
Yeah.
I love tinkering on my kayak. I think it's just it scratches an itch that not very many things can.
Mm-hmm.
But lately you've been going through some stuff, dude. Like, let's talk about.
Yeah, I think
it needs to be known. You know, I think people need to hear stuff like this.
it is June. You know, it's men's mental health awareness. You know, not
Absolutely.
that hopefully it's lots of girls listen to this too. You know what I mean?
I think I got 2 girl listeners.
That's good, because without my girl, I wouldn't be on the water. You know,
There you go.
Destiny wasn't part of my equation, I wouldn't be out there.
Yeah.
Just telling you. You know, like, yes, I owe it a lot. I owe a lot of all this to her, even the kayak stuff. You know, so I appreciate that. But lately, I guess I've been going through a lot of stress. You know, maybe it's some of the kayak. I don't know. You know, just because every time you go out, it's an event. You know, it's not like it's a bad thing, but you know, stress is layers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So essentially, I just really what it is. I end up having I guess a health scare like a week ago. Had a real bad headache. I was probably really dehydrated. Had a bad headache. Started taking my blood pressure. Blood pressure went up a little bit. Like, wouldn't go down. Started panicking. End up in the ER. I luckily, you know, I guess so I end up in the ER because at this point I'm like, let me go see what's going on because something's not right. I'm really dizzy. I just feel disconnected from whatever's going on. I end up going to the urgent care or whatever because I don't have a primary care physician. Y'all need to get one. Or, you know, if y'all don't have one, get one. You know, I'm late to the party. I need to get one.
You're 40 now. You have to have one.
It's a 40. You got it. It just comes with it. Like, excuse me, sir. Like, you know?
It's like a driver's license at 16. You got to get one. You know.
But you know, I was in urgent care, and the dude in there was kind of freaking out. He was like, "You need to go to the hospital right now. Like, you could have a heart attack, stroke, aneurysm, or whatever." And now, you know, my blood pressure really wasn't even that high. It just wouldn't go down. It was like 130 something over like 103. 100, you know, whatever. Like, the bottom number was really high.
Yeah.
The blood vessels just wouldn't relax, I guess is how he explained it to me, and told me I needed to go to the ER. So we end up doing that. And then by the time I got to the hospital, it was like actually high. It was like 174 or like 100 and whatever. I don't know. You know, like at this point I can't see. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
yo, yeah, you're like, you're going AFib in a second here.
Yeah,
like, what the hell? Yeah.
You know, but I guess that's the whole white coat syndrome thing, you know, and then you start panicking a little bit more, you know. But, you know, luckily, it wasn't good for me. I don't really do the doctor thing. So, you know, I mean, like I said, I when I started, you know, working out, I kind of told myself I was my own doctor, you know, but that's since like not been the best, but, you know, I just don't do the doctor thing. So even getting to the ER was like a monumental task for me. Like, going to the doctor for them to tell me to go to the ER was a monumental task, you know. And then they did all their whole gamut of like things, like they get me a bed or whatever, just in the ER. I didn't get admitted or anything. Blood pressure, you know, they check my blood pressure, and the physician comes to me and she's like, that's not even high enough to do anything. And it was like, by this time it's like 130, it dropped back down or something. 135 or something over like, you know, 90 something. And I'm like, she's like, you're not going to have a stroke. I'm like, and that immediately just like went, whoop, like it just brought my level down, I guess. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, sure, whatever you say, but like, let's run these tests. You know what I mean? And they end up doing a full blood panel, you know, urinalysis, like CAT scan, you know, whole chest, you know, MRI or whatever, you know, and luckily they couldn't find anything, you know. So it was like, I don't like giving blood. I don't like the doctor. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a sad place, especially the hospital. It's so sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They couldn't find anything really wrong.
That's crazy to me. Like
EKG,
yeah.
you know.
But okay, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
No, you good. No, I was just gonna say, like, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, so you started off your day, like, I mean, you're self-employed for the most part, right? Like, you self-employed.
I work for a company.
Okay. You work for a company, so you're working all day, you're doing all this stuff. The water, the attempting to do regular trips on the water is always stressful, at least for me. So I can imagine it's stressful for you. So you really have your 9 to 5 grind. You got everything else going on, and you feel like you have a headache and you're dizzy and kind of disassociated, or kind of like out of body experience, almost like you didn't feel like you were really there. Like, I can't say that that's like normal, but I can't say that that's not normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like more people have this going on in their life that they don't actually stop to notice it. So that's why it was really curious to me. When you're like, yeah, I got a headache and I didn't really feel right, and I felt like maybe I should go to the doctor. Like, and for somebody who doesn't want to go to the doctor, that's kind of a big deal, you know. And now they're pushing you to the ER. You're stuck in the ER. You're going through the CAT scan, which is like that loud tube. It's such a nightmare. Like, all this weird stuff. Did they put you in the big giant donut, or they stick you in the tube?
They had the big donut.
Okay.
The donut thing, but it's like, you know, they give me a gown and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I'm really at the hospital now.
Yeah,
you know, man, like, and you know, like I said, it wasn't nothing. You know, they couldn't. For what it, every time they told me something wasn't going to be wrong, or I read all my labs, like I'm healthy, clean bill of health.
Yeah.
She just basically said, you need to take a chill pill. I was like, huh? Like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, you need to relax. And like, I guess the stress just got to a point where it start to affect my health. And, you know, like they say, stress kills, man. You know, it does.
Yes.
You know, so it's just, with everything else, just being overworked at work, you know, like, just a lot of stuff going on. We just lost our dog. You know, a couple people I've been around had told me they noticed that on me for like a couple weeks. That really affected me. That's like losing a family member. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, to the point where in the last probably month, I don't even know if I really even like going fishing. You know, like, I'm like, it's not like really a stress reliever at this point. Like, it's just like I don't know,
another layer of stress.
Yeah, it's and it's like with the kayak, like, you know, luckily we've been all over the place this year since we built our kayaks. You know, we were in Tennessee, we were in South Carolina, we're like fishing Russell, we're fishing Del Hollow. Like, those are all cool, but like at home, I just wasn't interested. Like, it just like didn't even seem like something I wanted to do, you know. And when fishing starts to be like not the solution, you know, you got bigger problems. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
You know, whatever they may be, you know what I mean? Like, and so I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just, you know, fatigue, burning my candle at both ends since like the beginning of the year. You know what I mean? Like, building the kayaks, like, it's been great and it's been fun. I wouldn't change it for anything. And I know on the other side of all this, it will be fine. You know what I mean? Like, once I figure out, you know, like I said, probably working out a little bit more, you know what I mean? Getting my diet a little bit better, you know, like trying to get more sleep. It's like all things that nobody thinks that they have to do, like, till you have to actually do it.
Yep.
You know, like, it seems so simple, like, you know, but nobody wants to hear that.
Well, no, nobody does. And like, no one wants to hear diet, exercise, and sleep more, especially when they're like grinding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that because like, I ain't got time for that. Well, eventually your body will make time for you. Like, that will happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It will sit you in. It will sit you right on down. You know,
I used to beat my chest. Like, this guy, like, not years ago. I mean, it's a little bit ago. This song came out. So I'll get tired. You know, this guy, Kevin Gates. And I was like, that's me. This is me. Cause I had 3 jobs. I had like a bunch of stuff going on. So I don't get tired. This is my theme. This is my theme. Bro, I get tired.
I get real tired.
I get real 8 hours of sleep tired sometimes. Like, it just happens. You know,
sometimes that don't even cut it, you know?
No, it don't, dude. Like, so my wife attributes this because it happens about once every 6 months now. I have a shutdown where there's like about 3 days I sleep for 1 day. Like I will almost sleep for 24 hours. And then like I get up and I'm just groggy for a day. And then the third day, I'm like trying to come back to functioning. And I've talked to a couple therapists, and I've actually gotten into, we're gonna break some news right now. I got a trainer. I got like this trainer guy that I'm gonna start work. He's gonna start doing some meal prep and some workout plans and stuff for me, just because the key to having a proper amount of chemicals released in my brain to have a healthy mental state is exercise, diet, and sleep. You know, and
drink your water.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, I scream water from the rooftops. Like I'm just not a soda guy. Like I will drink water. You see me, chances are it's water or a bubbly water. Like it's water somehow. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. But yeah, dude. And I just thank you for coming on and talking about that, because that's a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Like when they hit their hard spot. Like you were on the internet like that day. I saw you in the hospital in your gown being like, yo, so this just happened. Like this is real. And like I don't think enough guys stop to take care of themselves.
I think that's important, and that's probably why I posted that. You know, I wasn't even, once I got the clean bill of health, and they was just, you know, I was like, well, now's more time than ever. Like, you know, people hashtag mental health awareness, man's July, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, it's important, but no, like I really had an issue. Like, you know, so I felt like if I let people know whatever, you know, somebody's looking at you, unbeknownst to me, a lot of people was, because I got a lot of messages, texts, you know, like from people I hadn't talked to in a long time, saying they were dealing with problems too, and they almost just spun out like last year. Or, you know, this person that I didn't even know, I've been known since I'm 4 years old, tells me, I'm still trying to fight through my issues. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. Like, you know, the thing with social media is like, it's really there for a sense of community. Forget all the other noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of noise and trolling and just negativity. But at the end of the day, it really was made to keep people together. Like, that's your community that you know. So when you are dealing with something, I feel like it's okay to put it out there and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Especially as a man, you know, we're not everybody's told that they can do that, or they want to tell you, you know, oh, you being soft, you acting like a girl. It's like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Because those would be the same guys, you know, something bad happens, maybe something really bad happens. You know what I mean? Because they can't talk about their problems. You know, you should talk about your problems, or you deal with it somehow. If it's just diet and exercise, maybe you go to the gym now. You know what I mean? Like, but just bottling it up and not letting anybody know you're going through it, I don't believe that's really a way to really be a quote unquote man. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just, because ultimately your vulnerability could help somebody else. Maybe you can deal with it, but maybe somebody else can't. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know,
we're all here
to help each other.
Yeah, not everybody's born with the tools. You know, not everybody's born with a tool set, or not everybody's raised with a healthy tool set of how to like function in life, dude. And that's you're nailing it on the head. Like, social media is the perfect platform for that. Like 100%. And I fully back it. Now, mind you, I do my fair share of trolling, but you'll see me in the comments. Like, I'm lightweight on it. I'll throw some funny stuff here and there, you know, for sure. But like you said it. I remember you said a few things, and one of them was like, yo, like, you pile this stuff up as men, we're told to just keep grit and bear it, you know? And that's not the case, because I mean, that was put in place when guys died at 55.
Right.
I'm 40. I don't want to die in 15 years.
Like, I really don't.
I'm 43. But like, point being is, I don't want to die soon. Like, I got kids, and I got stuff that I want to do with my life, you know? And and I don't want I mean, look at me. Father time is taking a toll as we speak, but like, I don't want father time to take me out before it's my time, you know?
Right.
And you also said something that I really like. Oh my gosh, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I just lost. Oh yeah. Nope, that wasn't it. I am having a struggle right now. I'm sorry. My brain is like firing too many thoughts at once. Oh man, you said so. You said, oh yeah, this is super important. And I love how you said this. Sorry, I had to rifle through a bunch of
No, you
ADHD
good.
shit.
You good.
You can't help fill other people's cup if your cup is empty.
Yes, I did say that.
I was like, solid. That is solid advice. Like, I love that. So where did that come from? Did you that just pop out of your head, or was that something that someone told you before? Or?
I think I've always heard that, and I guess you kind of live by it. You know, if you can't, yeah, you really can't. You can't fill somebody else's cup if yours is empty. Like, you know, and then some of those people need you to fill their cup. You know, you don't even know that, but if you aren't in good health, you know, you can't help those other people that need help. Like you said, not everybody is born with the tools to figure out what they need to do or how they should, you know, manage this or that. Like, you don't have a lot to give if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
You gotta. It's like, it's selfish. You know, you almost have to be. It's going to be a bar. You almost got to be. You almost have to be selfish to be selfless.
There is a healthy form of selfish. There is a healthy form of selfish. If you are in a situation that is not good for you and does not serve you and hurts you more than helps you, it is okay to be selfish and be like, this hurts me more than helps me. I don't need to be a part of this anymore. That's acceptable. That's 100%. It's when you go me all the time. That's, people get the word selfish so misconstrued because there's such a healthy form of it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're right. And sometimes in order to be selfless, you have to be selfish, you know, because you have to have something worth giving other people.
And then if you wear yourself down and, you know, burn yourself up, then you kind of become a burden a little bit. So you really can't even like help, you know, everybody else out. You know what I mean? You want to try to stay together as you can so you can help other people out. And like I said, I guess I said, you know, I realized the other day, I was like, at some point I maybe give a little bit too much to everybody. You know, not like saying that's a bad thing. I love seeing other people happier. If they don't have it, like, I can help them too. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I get more joy out of that, I think, than I do from myself. But if you burn that down,
you
know, you end up like me trying to check into the upper room, and like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you gotta protect yourself first. You know what I mean? So, you know, so you can be around. Like you said, you want to live, be old. You don't want to be, you know, 50, 55 years old. I'm trying to be 100. You know what I mean? And I guess the only way we get to do that is you get a wake-up call and you make adjustments and hope for the best.
Yeah. I'm kind of shooting for 80 because I feel like at 100, my child will be changing my diapers, and I don't want to go through that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, I think I'm going to put something like down on paper where like I can tell my son, hey, at 80, take me out into a field. You know, like, we've done it. You know,
we made it.
Yeah, we made it. All right. So, dude, Chris, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it, dude. We're getting to a question section. It's like the end of the podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Cool.
So before I get to that, is there anything else that you would like to tell everybody? Like, if you have a word of advice for people, like, or a statement to just kind of be there for people, or, you know, help people be there for each other.
I would say, as far as the mental health stuff and everything else goes, everything you're going through, like, you're never alone.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, somebody will help you.
Yeah.
You know, nobody needs to go through anything alone. There's too many people on this earth, and there's too many ways to communicate for anybody to have to go through anything alone, unless they choose to do so.
Nailed it. Perfect, dude. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let's get into these questions. Eventually, I'm going to have music for this. Like I want to get the Law and Order. I want to get like the Law and Order, you know, but that's copyright and I'll get in trouble. So, all right. First question. Who's your favorite angler and why?
Who is my favorite angler and why? Oh, that's loaded.
Yeah.
Who is my favorite angler and why? You know, for whatever reason, I never met the guy or anything like that, but I always liked Jason Christie.
Me too. I think he's awesome.
I don't know. There's something about the way he fishes and approaches stuff, and like a mystique about it. You know what I mean? I think he's probably a lot of people's favorite angler. Maybe there's some of that too, because he gets it done on the water. He doesn't really have a lot to say, but at the same time has like a great personality.
Yeah.
You know?
He's got the essence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Just
there's
like,
something to it.
Yeah,
Like there's some
dude.
flair there that you're not really sure. You can't put your hand, you can't put your finger on.
Dude,
You know,
yeah.
so I that price, and I throw a Christie crawl a lot, so you know what I mean.
Oh, hell yeah, hell. Hey, those things get it done, dude. I'm not gonna
They
lie.
get it bit, man.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have told y'all that. No, don't use them. They're trash.
Yeah, they're trash. Don't just send all your yums to my address now.
Right.
All right. So, do you have a favorite fishing personality?
Favorite fishing?
It doesn't have to be a professional fisherman. Like, if there's a YouTuber or if there's somebody that you love watching their content, anything like that. Is there a personality?
Did I like what a personality? My favorite fishing personality, like not necessarily like somebody who entertains, I guess. Keeps my attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tactical Bassin. You know what I mean? Like I just
I love it though.
You know what I mean? Like because it's just like a show. You know what I mean? Like it's a show. Like that's probably what I guess. I don't know. Yeah, the way they do their content and stuff like that is definitely I don't know, it draws you in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does, dude. They do a good job.
The whole intro and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say the intro is what gets you every time. Hey guys, this is Matt Allen. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Like, yes.
Like, yes, I'm here. Sell me something. Tackle Warehouse. Where am I going?
Hide my cards. Like,
yeah.
All right, man. This is a little bit deeper question. It's a little bit more wide open. Spend a day with anyone. Who would it be? And I'm not saying a day fishing. Just spend a day.
Spend a day with anyone. That is a little wide open.
Mm-hmm. For instance, Shrenko said he would smoke cigars with Nelson Mandela on the beach in Hawaii.
Huh. That is a good one. That is a good one. What if I could spend a day with anybody? This is gonna sound crazy because he's gone. But if I could go back in time and spend a day with anybody, I want to hang out with DMX.
Dude.
Because when I was younger, like I was really attached to a lot of music, a lot of his music. I like that was my there's some weird like connection I have to him that I never lived that life. I never lived any way like that, but I think that would be, I don't know, somebody you could, I don't know, somebody you always wish, like I got to see him in concert one time. It changed my life. I don't know. It's like a bucket list thing that so I don't know. I guess that's it. If I just had to pop something in my head without any questions,
Hell yeah. No, that's solid. Hey, that man can throw a show. I've seen him live as well.
Yeah.
That man can throw a show. He knows how to move some people. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So biggest fear.
Biggest fear. I mean, it would be cliche to say like drowning, right? I don't even know if that's really my biggest fear. I mean, do I have an actual fear? Probably something bad happened to me and nobody being around.
Got it.
Yep. Like that's probably a big one for me. That's probably maybe why I freak out so much in the kayak, like because if nobody can help you. And I would hate that because I feel like I always wanted to help somebody get out of a situation or keep them safe. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's it. Something terrible happened to me where nobody knew it happened to me.
Dude, nailed it. There's like core fears, right? Like, have you ever heard of the core fears? And okay, so I'm gonna pull my cards. I've done a large amount of therapy in my life. There's core fears. There is the fear of dying, the fear of the unknown, and the fear of being alone. Those are like three core fears that when you root all fear, doesn't matter. Like, I don't like small spaces and spiders, like that's my thing. I'm just weird like that. But then I did HVAC for a long time, whatever. So, so all that roots down. Everybody's fear roots down into something of being alone, the unknown, and dying. It's crazy how that works out. So, like,
So then it's like,
yeah, so you kind of coned it down to being alone, which is awesome because then you are that support system. You are that man for everybody else because you're not having a fear of dying at the time. You don't have a fear of the unknown because you're willing to step out and do anything for anybody else.
right.
So the left is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I get it. I like
yeah,
that though. I had to do some more reading on that. I like
yeah,
that. I
yeah.
like philosophy.
Okay, cool. Hell yeah. Do me too. I like the human mind. I like all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So all right, we'll jump into the next one. Have you ever been broke because of fishing?
Every week.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have so much money if I didn't buy fishing stuff. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking? That's all of us. That's probably not all of us, but it is. You find out that that's from top to bottom. Like, you ask people that even do this professionally, and they're like, "Bro, it just never stops."
I did
Like,
ask people that do this professionally, and one of them said yes, and the other one said no, but they had a large sum of money ahead of time, so they were fine.
Right.
But yeah,
but it never stops. The buy and tackle never stops. The getting this because you think you're going to get a different bite never stops. It's actually gotten to a place where I started getting kind of like, I don't know, not depressed about it, but like over the last probably maybe building the kayak too. I don't really like, but like you start to realize like, golly, like I will never stop spending money on this hobby. Like,
yes. Yep.
And then it's even worse. Like it's not so bad in like chasing smallies in the river. You can do that with an Ed rig and a popper, but these largemouth, golly. I mean, it's just they're so moody. You can't stop buying stuff. Right?
They're so
especially
moody.
Here.
Yeah.
It's like I know it's always about it being simple, but here we buy more tackle because the fishing is so trash. I mean, it's just you can't, you're just always looking for some sort of edge and you think it's going to come in a bait, and then like half the year you can't even really fish. So you're just being around fishing. It's like the expos, every year I buy a bag of stuff I don't even use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like just I'm buying my admission, I mean? Like to be there. Like it's like, so yeah, I guess sometimes.
Yeah. I love it. I do the same thing. I always come back from Columbus and I'm like, I'm not gonna use any of this. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh man. All right. So what's your biggest struggle in life right now?
My biggest struggle in life right now. Trying to probably realizing that I have reached maybe the 3/4 point of my life. And seeing age really it's really starting to affect me, but not maybe so directly as seeing like my parents get old. That has really caused me a lot of angst and maybe anger. Like you're mad that they're getting old.
Yeah.
Like it really bothers me,
As a kid, time's forever. Your parents are forever. And then I've come to the same realization. What's crazy is I'm in my parents' house now. And like I don't really spend a whole lot of time here. I live like 550 miles away from here.
Yeah.
And seeing it sounds funny, seeing these animals in their natural habitat, seeing them, seeing them in their natural way of life. Because I only come on holidays where there's lots of people and we're all doing stuff and this, that, and the other. And then when I see them in their regular life and what's going on, I'm like, it's forever ended,
Yeah.
And it's like that mortality like sets in, dude. I feel that. I feel that deep, dude. That's
really bothered me lately. Like, especially with my mom. She's, I don't know, she's my hero.
Yeah.
Like, it bothers me.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right, man. Let's jump up one. Your major life accomplishment, like your life hammer, the thing where you can beat your chest on and be like, I did that. Like, I'm proud of myself for this. And it's a healthy sense of pride. It's acceptable,
A healthy sense of pride, something I'm proud that I did.
Or that you're doing.
That I'm doing.
Doing, did, whatever.
What would that be for me? Probably a lot of these accomplishments, like with, I see, I think you get to a point where maybe you don't get to feel a lot of accomplishment because you're just kind of going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
But with this fishing stuff, like but I'm being vulnerable. It might sound corny, but like this year when we went to Del Hollow, this year I had a pickup truck. All the guys that we used to go with had pickup trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got a truck. And I get to park, even if it's a kayak trailer, it might not be a bass boat. We go down there for this little retreat thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I pull up and I got a truck now. Or I should say me and
Yeah.
Destiny have a truck now. Like we did it together. It's not just me. I couldn't do any of this stuff without her. It just wouldn't even happen,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't be caring for real. And then I don't want to push myself, but she always pushes me. We fought to get a truck. We fought to get kayaks. Like we said, we were going to do all these things together, and we have accomplished that. That was probably something this year that made me feel like, oh man, you're really doing what you said you were going to do. Like you're growing and you're growing together. And you're what seemed as silly as it sounds. It's not like I couldn't go buy a truck or something, but it's like, as a man, you're like, I got a truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so just, being around other people that you deem successful and you're, mingling and mixing with all those people, that makes me feel good.
Hell yeah, dude. So, all right. Have you ever learned a lesson on the water that you've implemented in your life?
Have I learned a lesson on the water? I should probably do that. I would say keep it simple when you're fishing. Don't make the rest of life so complicated. Maybe you don't need 13 rods today. Maybe you shouldn't do 13 things. You should do one and do it really well.
No, you need 13 rods. No, I
should probably,
I love that.
Yeah, I should take some of that, and I guess it's some of that. If there was a single thing that I think about, like when I'm out there, I'm like, man, why am I doing this? Because it's probably because maybe the rest of my existence for whatever reason is in trying to figure out what's going on. I'm doing so many things and I haven't really focused on one thing. So it just transfers over to water and I'm doing so many things and I should just probably be doing like one or two things and focusing on that.
Hell yeah. Dude, I have the same problem. I call it control. Because I feel like everything else is so out of control. I thought adults knew what they were doing at 40 in their 40s. They don't.
Absolutely not.
At least I don't.
It's worse.
And yeah, exactly. And so I'm panicking, so I take that panic onto the water with my fishing. You know what I'm saying? I bring, you can ask my buddy Andy, I will load my rod box. I got 8 rods, so I only get 8. But I will have 4 or 5 other rods sitting in the truck. So if none of those work, I'll put the kayak back to the truck and go get the other rods. Like I'm that guy. When really all I have to do, my buddy Steve fished the same lake we did, and he just threw a Senko all day and caught a shitload of fish. I was like,
that's all you gotta do.
Exactly.
It's not fun though. It's not sexy.
Well, I'm trying to do it all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I want to see what else they'll eat. That's
exactly. Me too, dude. So it sounds like we both just need to tie on glide baits, dude, and like everything else away.
That's what I haven't thrown that at all much this year, and I threw it a lot last year.
Let's do big bait summer. I'm down. My goal was to throw some big baits. I just need the motivation. I think you just kicked me into gear. It's big bait summertime. So I love that, dude. I love that. Keep it simple. All right. What's your biggest mental or emotional block for you?
My biggest mental or emotional block? Self-belief. Nobody would probably look at me and think that because I don't preach that. But I've always had a problem believing in myself. And not to say when I don't, it's fake. I do a lot, but it's almost like I need convincing. Like I believe in myself and know what I'm capable of, but there's almost like the knowing I can't. Like I'm always like shocked, like, man, I did that. And people are like, well, yeah, of course, you're really good at that. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. Like
Sounds like I'm
that's
talking to a
probably
mirror right now. Yeah, dude, I
yeah.
get
Like
it. I
I'm,
100% get it. It's like
my
imposter syndrome.
my dad said something to me when I was like, I don't know, 16 or 17. We were shooting pool at this little airway billiards. I used to go there all the time. It got ran down. It's really bad now. But I remember him saying something. This is like going way back, but this is kind of something that's always stuck with me. He said, I remember telling him like I had just started like dunking a basketball or something, which I could do up until 2 years ago. I got to get that back. I yeah, I remember saying to him like, man, that's the same reason I never played basketball in high school. I hooped with all the dudes that play ball, but I never would ever do it myself. I played. We it was like, you playing good enough to do this. So I was like, I don't know, you know. But I remember telling my dad, I said, I wanted. Oh man, like I can't wait. I'm gonna dunk a basketball in a game, but I just don't know. And he was like, why don't you just do it? And he was like, I was like, what do you mean? He was like, because you're just afraid of success.
Mm.
And that might be the single like one thing that my dad has said to me that has always stuck with me is you're afraid of success. And I don't know if that's probably like the truest, and that's not a deep, I don't want to say my dad's not a deep man, but like as he's gotten older, like he goofs off a lot. You know what I mean? But like this is like 20 years ago, you know, he said that to me. And I can remember like where we were at, what we were doing, and I that has always stuck with me. You're afraid of success.
He popped a core memory on you. You have a core memory
You
for
did.
life. That's
Yeah.
dude.
And
Now,
you
go
know,
ahead. Go ahead.
I
I
was
was
gonna
just
say like
curious
I
what you
just
done with it.
I think I always have thought about that, and maybe that's some of what pushes me to try to be like, that's what probably made me more competitive to like get stuff done, to like not like to prove to somebody like, yeah, I can do it, you can't. Like it's not really like that. It's just like thinking about that does always like creep up in my head. Just a lack of if I'm being the most vulnerable, like not really self-confidence. And maybe that comes from being like the big kid, the heavy kid. Like nobody, you know, you getting picked on and stuff like that, you know, like nobody would believe that now. But like, you know what I mean? Like obviously I've grown through that and maybe past it, but it's definitely something that I still deal with. And I'm vulnerable enough with that. Just not being able to, you know, not being good enough, I guess, or like, you know, not believing that I can do it. I will play like mental games with myself and psych myself out so that when I go do it, I'm like, well, yeah, see, you can do that. You know, like you ain't gonna catch no fish today. Like you don't even know how to fish. And then I'll go out and I'll be dead serious though.
Yeah.
Like, and then I'll go out there and be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. These guys ain't got nothing on me. You know what I mean? Like just being around better, even if it's just something as basic as being around better anglers or something like that. Be like, man, I can hang with them. Can I? And if I can, then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, like I knew I could do that.
You
But
downplay
like,
it. You
yeah,
downplay your
downplay it.
success. Yeah.
Yeah. Downplay it when it's something that I probably should push way past because ultimately that's been my journey with even the kayak and stuff is just the using that to be like, no, you could do a lot of cool stuff. Like just go do the stuff. Like you're capable. Like you have a support group. Like everybody believes in you. But it's like everybody believes in you, but sometimes you don't believe in yourself. And everybody looks at me for being like super confident and stuff. And like, yeah, but maybe in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I don't really know if I can do that.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's real though. That's super real. And like I was saying earlier, it's almost like an imposter syndrome. Like you don't feel like you can, even if you can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I should be here. I don't feel like I should be doing this. And when I do get good kudos or like I do succeed, I downplay it. It's almost It almost sounds like you're afraid to just feel the good stuff too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, I don't, almost like you feel like it would take you away, or it'd turn you into somebody different, or give you a big head.
Mhm.
And I don't think it would personally.
Right.
I think you're too uh, analytical. You know what I'm saying? Like you analyze yourself
Oh
too
yeah.
much to ever let yourself get too big of a head. But dude,
Hell
like,
yeah, yeah. It's
yeah,
definitely it's definitely a battle. I mean, I can think of a lot of stuff. It's like, just trying to always outdo somebody just to prove to yourself that you can do it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not like for them. I could really care less. You know what I mean? But like internally,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, if you can do that, I can do it. Let me see.
And then you do it,
Like,
and then you're like, all right,
and you're
cool.
like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, I love it, dude. That's such a good emotional walk. Like I can relate 100%. All right, where does fishing fit into all this now?
I think I have done less with fishing. To me, used to be like a thing. Even then, like, that's so crazy. Even like years ago, I would go get my fishing license. I would go out and I'd beat the river with my chartreuse spinner bait, and I would be like, oh yeah, I know where they're at. I catch them like this all the time. And then I would just never go fishing again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's like now, if playing into that, I guess, in an effort to try to be better, fishing has allowed me to meet people at an older age and create friends and family members that would have never been accessible to me without chasing these fish.
Mm-hmm.
It has created almost a second gear or third gear of life that I never would have had if I wouldn't have decided to go fishing again.
Yeah.
I think it, even though it can be stressful, at its core, it is the glue for my existence because of the people, the places you get to see, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have any boundaries really,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what it has been for me. It's almost like you don't really fish for the fish, you fish for the people.
I love it. No, I love that. That's awesome. Dude. We've talked a few times here and there, and it's always been pretty short, because it's Columbus and you're
Right.
walking one way and I'm stuck, or walking another way. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're doing our thing, dude. But I'm really glad that we got to talk tonight. Like, I'm really grateful that you came on here, dude, because holy cow, like, we got a lot in common, dude. And I really love your perspectives on stuff. So, dude,
I
I
appreciate
just
that.
genuinely appreciate you, dude.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking me to come on. You know what I mean? Like, I was apprehensive about even this.
Yeah.
I'm calling Destiny. Like, babe, what I'm gonna say? What I'm gonna do? She like, you'll be fine. Just talk. I'm like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Dude,
it's like, so
you're nailing it.
I
All right.
appreciate you having me.
Dude, no, thank you. I got 2 more questions, and the
Okay.
second one is a 3-parter, but I have a
Okay.
feeling we're going to get into that one, so it's going to be awesome. But this question is, tell us one thing no one knows about you, like a window into who you are.
A window into who I am.
Yeah, one thing that nobody knows. I mean, you're in a relationship, so chances are she knows everything about you. Like, I'm married, my wife knows everything. Yeah.
Right. Something that nobody knows about me.
Yeah. Surprise your girl when she listens to this.
She's sitting right here.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Destiny.
He says hi, babe. Something that nobody knows about me. Something that nobody knows about me. That would be probably advertised.
Yeah.
Let's see. You're making me put my thinking cap on tonight.
I mean, I pick my nose when I drive, dude. Let me clean this out before I get to where I gotta go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Something that nobody knows about me.
That and Q-tips. I do Q-tips when I drive too. It's something I just
I feed homeless people a lot.
really.
I often will see somebody with a sign begging, and I'll drive up to them and say, "What do you want for dinner?
That's awesome.
What do you like from McDonald's?" You know, and they'll say, I'm like, "You sure you don't want nothing to drink?" Then I'll bring them a whole meal.
That's awesome.
That's probably a thing. Quite often in the summertime, I keep a bottle of water in the car just in case I see somebody that's homeless.
Yeah. Dude, that's
Or
awesome.
begging.
Yeah. Still, that's awesome.
Never give money.
No,
I like
dude.
to feed people because
Yeah.
I know that nourishes them. I don't need to judge them. I just know that if I was staying out there and I didn't have no place to go, I'd probably be hungry.
Yep.
So I'd probably give you some food. Let me buy you a pizza. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something.
Dude,
It's a thing
awesome.
I do.
That's awesome. I love it. All right. Last question. What do you do for your health? It's what do you do for hydration? What do you do for diet? And what do you do for your mental clarity?
My mental health, hold on, say that one more time.
For your health, hydration,
Hydration,
diet, and mental
diet,
clarity.
and mental clarity.
Yeah.
Hydration. In a perfect world, like I have been doing more of, I start my day with 32 ounces of water every day.
Nice.
I never have stopped doing that. Even on those long days, you work these manual labor jobs, like and it's like I had to do a water heater. I got to hang a front door. I got to, replace it. This is the same day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I always start my day with a big glass of water. And through the day, it's when it gets kind of poor, but I think that's just, busyness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can get
But
sidetracked.
that's what I would say. That's probably my biggest thing I would say anybody should do. You feel better for it. Just drink the biggest glass of water you can.
Yep.
All
right.
And
Diet.
then for my diet, stick to the outside of the store. Don't go to the middle.
Oh,
when you get in the grocery store, it's all the stuff on the outside. Your butcher, your vegetables and fruits, and all that type of stuff. You can't go wrong that way.
that's genius.
Don't go
Oh,
to the middle.
I've never even. I'm always in the middle. I'm in like the frozen pizza
Yeah.
section.
I mean, I do that, but you know what I mean. But ultimately, when everything's locked in, and you're to basically prime yourself for your mental clarity, stick to the outside of the store.
I love it, dude. That's such a genius idea. I never even thought about it like way. I've never even put that in perspective. That's awesome.
It's easy to shop in a circle too. You just you ain't got to do all this. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, mental clarity.
Mental clarity, I would say it'd be the exercise for me. Yeah. And nootropics. I've looked into, I definitely good for a good nootropic, some sort of nootropic supplement. Seems to really, I was taking Alpha Brain even when I go fishing. I'll take Alpha Brain. That'll really tighten you up. You'll make better decisions, that's for sure. I think a lot of times your brain gets tired. It's not even your body. I would that is something I do for exercise and something you could do for it. Look into nootropics. It'll help you be more efficient, maybe.
Dude, I like it. Dude, I never even thought about taking Alpha Brain before I go fishing. I tried it a while ago. It definitely put me on point, but finances, I'm like, you got to start cutting the extras. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's other ones out there though, but that's a good one. I took some today. Like I said, I've been feeling like obviously with everything I've been doing with stress and not knowing what's going on. The last few days I've been taking a nootropic, and it's definitely locked me in more. My head's just not all over the place.
Awesome. Nice. I love that, dude. And how are you feeling now after everything's said and done? This is my final question. How are you feeling now about this whole situation that you just went through?
If I had to reflect on it, I need to take care of myself better. A lot of people are mad at me about not doing that.
That's why she's in the other room.
That's why she's right. She's right here.
All right.
She probably is looking at me now. I can't, lots of people were pretty upset that I, whether it be my family, my girl, my coworkers that depend on me every day to lead them. Yeah. Lots of people were pretty pissed that I let myself get that way. I'm feeling better. Obviously it's not going to be an off and on switch, but as every day goes by, I feel more like myself. Just a little fuzzy in the head, I guess. That's all I really still feel. Haven't had any sharpshooting pains or anything like that, like I was having. Numbness in my left side, So, I mean, I think I'm on the up and up. I'm going to make it so I am, so I can be here.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you're here, and thank you again, dude, for coming on and doing this, dude.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me.
So if people want to get a hold of you, man, how are they going to get a hold of you? You want to shout yourself out where they can reach you at? The best Instagram handle on the planet?
It would be African X God. Just African with the H, X in the middle, God. It's an old gamer tag. Halo 3 was obsessed with that game. It just stuck with me. But yeah, African X God. It's an ode to my, being a mixed kid. You know what I mean? I always attach myself to that. So, you know what I mean? That's the easiest way to get me. I don't fool with Facebook. I don't do none of that. So, I'm on IG. Hit me up.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, again, one more time, genuinely, I am super grateful you came on here, and thank you for having this conversation, dude. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks. And I appreciate you too.
Yeah, hopefully we can get to. Hopefully some people out there actually heard what they needed to hear tonight.
Yeah, I'm always.
This will be coming out. This will be coming out tomorrow. So if you want to hear yourself, it'll be out tomorrow. I'll be up late.
I'm gonna check it out.
I know you're up late, and I know you got to get going to bed eventually. So I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna throw you in the green room real quick, and then I'm gonna close this whole thing out. And I'll catch up with you in a minute. Hold on.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you. Everybody heard it. Your mental health is important. It's not just important to you. It's important to people around you. If you are struggling, you are definitely not alone. Like he said, reach out, get help. You know where to find me. You know where to find Chris. If you are struggling, reach out to one of us. We are definitely here for you. So thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. I don't know what time you're going to hear this, whether it's in your car on the way to work or on the way home from work, or when you're out fishing like me. That's when I listen to my podcasts. Either way, reach out if you are struggling. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful Wednesday.